Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the July 7th meeting of the Steamship Authority Sport Council. I'm Gordon Carr, this year's chair. I'll do the two standard announcements and then we'll get into the meeting. First, regarding the recording, I would like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the Authority's Communications Director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. If there's anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting, please identify yourself. If you're joining virtually, please raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by telephone, by pressing *9 on your keypad, and when you are recognized, please state your name directly.
Louisa?
It's Louisa Hofstadter from the Vineyard Gazette.
Thank you. And Kai?
Good morning, everyone. Kai Quigley, the Inquirer and Mirror.
Thank you. So crazy. Okay. And Greg Egan is in the audience when it's going to vote.
Great. Okay. Yes. All right. That's it on the recordings.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, I see Eric too. Hang on one second.
That for July meeting. Excellent. All right. And then regarding remote participation pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, as amended, Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendances today would be unreasonably difficult. All Port Council members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. And with that, I will introduce those members that are either present virtually or here in Falmouth. First, John Dale.
I'm sorry, here.
Thank you. Dr. Ricky.
Here.
Greg Egan.
Here.
Matt Hall.
Here.
Robin here.
Here, good morning.
Good morning. Joe Slito.
Here, good morning.
And Gordon Carr here as well. All right, thanks everyone. We may look longingly at the efficiency of the two meeting so we'll see how we do. We've got a lot to cover, so we'll try to be as efficient as possible. There's a few that require some good conversation. The first item is the approval of the minutes of that June 2nd meeting of the Port Council in public session. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Matt. All in favor, John?
I was not there, so I abstained.
Okay. You're you can correct me, still able to vote even though they were not present. Eric?
Yes, aye.
Greg?
Yes.
Nat?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And Gordon's an aye as well. Having the board then takes a little bit longer, I guess. Sorry. And then with that, on to Mark.
Morning, everyone. So we got the business summary for the month of May. Sean's pulling this up. As a reminder, all traffic statistics are one way. So for the month of May, total passengers carried for both the islands combined were down 3.2%, or 8,675 passengers. Year to date, we're down 5.6%, or 48,000 passengers. The Vineyard's down 6.3%, and the Nantucket route is down 1.7% year to date. Vehicles carried under 20 feet are also known as passenger vehicles for the month of May. The Vineyard was up 2.2%, Nantucket was up 9.1%. And for the month, we're up 3.3%, or a total of just over 1,658 vehicles. But year to date, we are down 2.3% at 4,411 for vehicles, with the Nantucket being up 4.7% and the Vineyard being down 3.5%. And ironically, year to date, every category in the Nantucket route is up, including standard fare, while the every category on the Vineyard Road is down. Specifically, the big ones are the standard fare vehicles being down. Freight vehicles for the month of May, both routes combined are down 1.6% or 159 vehicles. Year to date, we're down 3.9% or just over 1,500 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being down 5.8% and the Nantucket route being down 0.7%. Cars parked mirroring the passengers, we're down 10.2% for the month of May, or 1,670 vehicles. Year to date, we're down 15.4% or 6,816 vehicles. The Vineyard's down 16.5%, and the Nantucket route is down 9.7%. And remember, May, we had some inclement weather right around the holiday, so.
You think that's what that is?
I think it's overall, it's just we're down.
Yeah, does seem like that.
Yeah,
Right.
so just generally
Look at
we're.
all the numbers, they're all, yeah.
And keep in mind on the Nantucket, on the passengers, we did have the 5th trip on the IANA was down in May because they lost 4 full days of operation. But to offset some of that, for the second half of the month, they ran a 5th trip this year compared to last year, they didn't. Trip summary, so for the month of May, we had 40 trips canceled for mechanical, 32 for weather, and 53 for traffic. The Joe Solito report, the trip diversions for the month of May. Last year we had 34 trips diverted, and this year we had 34 trips diverted, so the same amount of diversions in the month of May.
The only thing correction I would like to make is you go it one way, really for the people in Oak Cross, it's 2 ways, because we miss the people coming off the boat.
Yeah.
And miss the people coming on the boat, so that's really 2 trips.
Yeah, so that 34 would be 17 round trips, those are one ways.
Yes, I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, financial snapshot, for the month of May, operating revenues of just over 15.1 million, which were below budget by 343,000. Other income of 1.3 million was above budget by 516,000, and that was really the timing of the grant revenue we've been talking about at this point. We're pretty much caught up to where we should be, with some minor adjustments on some expenses, but materially we're on track there. But putting this together, total revenue for the month, we're up just under 174,000. Operating expenses of 12,684,000 were below budget, 76,000. Putting this together, we had a net operating income, first time this year, of 3,565,000 for the month, which was above budget by 477,000. Year to date, we have a net operating loss of 13,350,000. But that is better than budget by 395,000. So we're ahead of budget by 395 so far on our bottom line. On the revenue side, we can see the categories as with the standard fares being down and the passengers being down. No surprise that the correlating revenue is down. But year to date, our total operating revenue is down 2.5%, just over $1.1 million.
Mark, can I ask a question there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about the negative 16% in parking, and then I see the revenue associated with parking is only down a little bit. What's the disconnect there? Just out of curiosity.
The parking is that we had some rate adjustments, and then the quantity of cars versus the length of stay. So you could have less cars coming in, but the length of stay could be greater, or the day of the week or timing of when they stayed in the lot.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay, so operating expenses, and excuse the typo up top, that should be May, not April. Year to date, our fuel, we budgeted for $2.85, and actually year to date, our fuel cost with hedges is $2.85. So the good news is we're right on topic, but overall our fuel expense is down for the year. And looking at the expenses, the maintenance expense is up for the month, 336,000. That was timing with the Vineyard Haven terminal, the final invoice we got there for that slip work. That's where we saw the grant revenue increase as well for the month. But overall for the month, we're down 275,000, and year to date, we're down 2.2 million. Big line item there is the general expenses down 1.3 million. About 400,000 of that is in training expenses, 600,000 is in benefits, and 100,000 in credit card fees coming in lower than anticipated. So that's the driver on that number there. And I do expect through some of the claims to come through for that health insurance number to decrease as we go further in the year. I think it's more of a timing issue on some of those costs. But year to date, we are down just over 2.2 million in operating expenses.
Hey, Mark, can I ask another question?
Absolutely.
I know later in the deck we have quite a bit about training. It seems a little bit ironic, or maybe there's an explanation as to why the training expense would be down when we're focusing on increasing training.
It could be timing when the training was going, what type of training was done in the first half versus the second half of the year, but that's what we've received for training expenses so far.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to give you a vague answer, but I can circle back next month and see which line items that weren't done so far.
Yeah, I mean, I am strongly in favor of the training initiative, and it just seemed a little ironic that the training is down while we're speaking about this, enhanced initiative.
Yep.
But understand the reason.
Okay, on the next slide, so looking forward for what our future bookings are. So deck space is occupancy. So looking at capacity, I should say. So if we're looking at the bookings for the vineyard, we're up 2.2% as of June 30th, comparing 26 versus 25, and we're up 2.8% on the Nantucket route. So future bookings for July through October 15th are looking pretty good. And then on the quantity of reservations, we're also up, but a little bit lower, 1.6% on the vineyard route and 1.8% on the Nantucket route. So putting those two slides together just shows we have a little more larger vehicles booked at this point this year than we had last year. So looking at June, and we took the June 30th done today, but passengers for the first 3 weeks of June were up 1.1%, with the Nantucket route being up 9.4% and the vineyard route being down 0.7%. But some of that fast ferry number is a little misleading, is because this year we're running the 5th trip, which accounts for 3,000 passengers on that 5th trip for the first 3 weeks of June. So if it wasn't for the 5th trip, we'd be down about 1,800 passengers, comparing apples to apples. But putting it all together, so we saw a decrease in the overall passengers. We're only down 4.2% year to date, or just under 46,000 passengers. So we closed the gap a little bit on the quantity. Vehicles for the first 3 weeks of June, excuse me, we're up 1.9%, or just under 900 vehicles. Both routes were up. The only items that were down in the month of June were the standard fare vehicles on the vineyard route, and specifically the autos. The trucks were relatively flat, and being down 1 vehicle. Year to date, we're down for all vehicles combined 1.8%. The Nantucket route is up 3.6%, and the vineyard route is down 3.1%. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. Additional questions.
All right, John Cahill has this.
Yeah, mute John.
Microphone on. John, you're muted still.
Mark, nice job. Do we ever get information on our licensees as in terms of how many passengers they're doing year to date, month to date?
Yes, we do get that, and I believe it's on page of the business summary. We do have a competition report that shows where they stand.
Yeah.
So that is included in the packet.
Okay, I'll look at that later. Are they up or down or?
Give me 1 second. Sorry, I didn't memorize it. I apologize.
No worries.
Let me circle back to you in between
Yeah,
segments.
no problem. And I'll look myself. Thank you.
Other questions for Mark?
I'm not gonna ask anything because I'll talk too long. So it's all good. I mean, if the numbers are what they are because there's only so many people coming here and everybody thinks there's more people every year. And that's not really true. And the vehicle issue in the vineyard, I think, is probably part of what's already happened over here with the vehicles already at a lot of the summer homes year round, parked on the vineyard already, like they are over here. So the increase of one-way vehicles here is new business, I would say. Well, I'm not sure that's the right term to use, Mark, but we've looked at this over the last 10 years on our route and it's been flat. So either that or it's a timing issue with rentals and some of the vehicles that you get that shot in the arm of one ways and then it flattens out during the summer, which is probably the case.
Yeah. So if I can answer John's question, yeah, so for the total, all routes combined on the vineyard were down 5.4%. Some of the carriers were down as high as 29% year to date on the vineyard route, and one carrier from New York is up 11.4%. And on the Nantucket route, the biggest carrier is up 0.9%. The other carriers from the mainland are up 2.9 and 3.7% from Nantucket, and the New York service is down 2.8% for Nantucket year to date. So mixed bag, kind of like us.
Yep.
Thank you. I agree with Nat. On the vineyard, we have the same thing. More people are keeping their cars the year around and just bringing down one barrel and then keep one barrel and then.
And another issue, Mark.
On the business owner.
Another trend, just so you guys, I just thought of this year, is all the ride share, Uber and stuff. Those are vehicles that are already registered on the island. So there's going to be less rentals, in my opinion, or it's not going to increase because there's more ways to get around and there's people doing the Turo. So that's another vehicle that's not coming on the boat. It's already here. So this is just, kind of just a natural change. It's not something that anyone's doing right or wrong or whatever. It's just the way things are and have evolved over time.
I think if I could interject, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please. Yeah, Eric, go ahead.
So, the reality is the economy is tanking. And it's been tanking slowly for about 6 to 8 months. And we have indicators in our ship registry business, which is global. We have 24 offices around the world. And the first indicators of a tanking economy come from the maritime sector, from maritime trade and commerce. We're seeing it tank. So we expect probably in about 6 months to 8 months that the US economy will show some real deltas. Right, they're fudging the numbers constantly. The current administration. This isn't a political statement. This is facts. So we can't really get a good read. The fact that the numbers aren't so bad, by the way, is pretty damn good. Right, you guys are doing a good job. You're creating continuity. You're creating new systems. The systems that you're putting in place are really solid for the end users. Nobody should look at this as a real negative. It's the economy, stupid, right? It's just the way it is. So I think, bravo Zulu to you guys. You're doing a good job. And the fact that the numbers aren't so horrible is a good thing. The one thing you're going to have to pay attention to is not spending a lot of money next year. So I think we got to tighten up our belt straps. And that's the one kind of conversation piece I think we need to have is, okay, how do we not get ourselves into trouble for next fiscal year? Okay.
One more thing I mentioned is the hedges. We have executed hedges for 2027. They're about 7 cents more to purchase the hedges than last year, which is very good. But we've noticed a pretty significant decrease just from June 10th to June 14th, a decrease of about 30 cents on executing hedge prices for the cost per gallon. Still higher than last year, but significantly less than where we were 2 months ago. So that'll be a headwind we'll have next year. But if the economy goes down, then the price of fuel will not be our concern.
That's right.
And real quick, I want to make sure nobody thought I was calling them stupid. Just referring back to the old quote from the Clinton Bush era.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure nobody feels like I was targeting them commentary wise. Thank you.
So
If you came over here, Eric, and said the economy is going tanking, the people would say, "Who's this guy?" Because this place is booming. So when we're booming, we're just normal. When the economy in the country is not doing well, we're still kind of above that. It's just the way it is because people like it here and it's an attractive place. And the same with the vineyard. So I would, I would take some notes on that, Pat.
Yeah, my favorite place on earth since I was a little boy is Nantucket. So you don't have to sell me on it.
All right, I'm just telling you. I have to listen to it
Your
every day.
clientele's a
Yeah.
little less price sensitive than some others around, I think that's
It's
all.
only has to be
Exactly.
from Washington DC, it's 110 of when we think of administrative state.
Yeah.
It's just 1 tank of gas.
But it's still cheaper to come to the vineyard than it is to fly to Europe.
Yes.
So
Correct. There you go.
that's
We want you.
we got that. Well, sure. All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mark on the treasurer's report? All right, seeing none, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good morning, Port Council. First, I want to thank staff for this weekend. It was obviously a busy weekend, 4th of July, and everybody really came out in force and worked really hard down at the terminals, on the docks, and on the boats. We had kind of people filtered in over several days. So I want to thank Dave and Robbie down in Woods Hole and over in Hyannis, and they did a great job getting over to the islands. Rich and Lee did a fabulous job getting everybody back from the islands. And I feel bad for Rich because we had the island went down on Sunday, which was really unfortunate. That's also, we're going to see that hitting our numbers going forward. So we had to comp all those people. But the port engineers and the port captains did a great job getting her back in service. She's back in service today. But of course, as you can see by the weather, she's not fully back in service, but she's ready to go when the weather lightens up. And we also, on Sunday, the Island Queen went down for mechanical issues, so we were able to accommodate those passengers on our boats, which is a great show of partnership with our quote-unquote competitors on the island, so I was happy we could do that. We also want to add in, we are looking at RD99. I know there's been a couple of people in the public have asked us about RD99 for the Island Queen or the Island Home. We are looking at that. It's a matter of dollars and cents. As you can see, our numbers are not great this year, so we did not budget for the extra cost of RD99, which at this point, I think we just priced it out, it's at least $100,000 extra. And where do we get that money when we want to add the project manager, we want to add a training manager, we want to do all these things, but it comes down to dollars and cents and where do we get that money? Finally, I want to, Will's here from our engineering department. He and I and Zach Lawrence and Rob Muneer went down to the Marine Law Ship Repair Conference. So I just want Will to step up to a quick little summary of that conference. I was sick for the whole thing, so unfortunately I didn't get a whole lot out of it, but I think they got a lot out of it.
Morning, everyone. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go down to Jacksonville with Rob, General Manager and the Director of Engineering, to the Marine Law 2026 Ship Repair Conference. And the conference was made up of stakeholders in the industry, commercial marine, shipyards, service industry, like steering, propulsion, cathodic protection, marine insurance, and then operators such as ourselves. The common theme throughout the conference was dry dock availability, which everyone in the operator side of the marine industry is struggling with right now. We don't, in New England, we only have 2 dry docks that have the capability of hauling our ro-ro vessels. So it was nice to speak with some of the shipyards and see what we can do to make our work more attractive, which, it seemed like the answer was get your packages out earlier so that we can get you on our schedule. So, I think when we're in, it sounds like when we're in our dry docks, we need to be, really prepping for the next one and try to get the packages out sooner. Right now, we try for 6 months, but it's pretty tough when you go package to package. We spoke with some dry dock consulting agencies, for the same reasons, to try to find more dry docks to send our packages to. I think right now we send our packages to approximately 15 shipyards, and we typically only get 1 to 2 bids. So it'd be nice to find some smaller yards our size, and talking to some of these shipyards, our size limits us. We fall, unfortunately, like the INO can be hauled by travel lift, but our ro-ro vessels can't. And a lot of these shipyards base their business model around large commercial marine and military sea lift command. And so when you have a $20 million credit dry docking, you know, our work is just not that attractive, unfortunately. When they're looking at taking up, you know, 1,000-foot graving dock for 6 to 8 weeks for $1.5 to $2 million, the math just doesn't work. There were panels on, you know, dry dock planning and how to proceed with change orders. There's a lot of talk about new technologies, new processes, tools for, you know, when you're in the shipyard. A lot of the conference was based around large commercial marine, so some of it wasn't applicable to us. But it was nice to have the opportunity to go down and speak with some of the vendors that we, you know, use often, and then meet some new people and spend time with Rob. I had never met Rob before, so that was good. But it was a worthwhile conference, and we got a lot out of it. Thanks, Will.
Thanks. Eric, I see your hand is raised. You're muted. Your microphone is still on.
If you could expand a little bit on what you got out of it from the technology standpoint, I'm pretty intrigued with some of the systems that are coming out. If you could, you know, any real nuggets that you took away?
A lot of the technology, there was some propeller design technology, was, you know, for ships that are traveling, you know, thousands of miles, you know, and making those trips more efficient. For us, our routes are so short, it didn't apply to us, but there were a lot of, you know, cathodic protection technology, which we don't have much of on our vessels. One of our vessels is outfitted with cathodic protection, but certainly worthwhile to look into that. Marine growth, there was a couple of companies that did robotic cleaning, hull cleaning, and then there was another company that's owned by Alfa Laval there that they provide a system that you know, works on prohibiting growth and eliminating growth. There were it was actually quite a few companies there.
Was Fleet Robotics one of the companies that was there? Because they've been doing some testing, some hull cleaning testing in New Bedford. They're actually based in Charlestown, but
yeah, I'll have to look at the notes.
Actually, I should probably take an introduction break.
There was a Boston-based company that was probably.
Yeah. Great.
I can just add to Will's
Rob,
answer to Eric's question. There was a couple of things that I think worth mentioning. Sort of big theme was artificial intelligence about everything. You know, that the rate of change is extremely high, and you know, logistics is an area for AI to help out for fleets. So a lot of emphasis on data, which of course we have a lot of data. So I thought there was an opportunity there to think about how we mine our data better. And one of them was a company called Fleet Zero, which is testing a hybrid design, which seemed to be interesting from the perspective of relatively short routes. And they're eager to find people to support, to provide a model and do some modeling. So they might do something, you know, either using us as a template in terms of a design. So I thought there might be an opportunity there. So I thought those were a couple of things just to add to Will's answer.
Yeah, Fleet Zero is one that comes down reaching out to try to get a meeting with them.
Excellent. Matt?
Yeah, I put my hand back down, but Will, you mentioned the dry dock stuff, and you rattled off some really good information there about our boats, what works in other shipyards. And you didn't mention distance, but I'm sure that you were thinking about, like, you know, you're giving these bid packages to places that are far away. I mean, if they're not familiar with the boats. In that article that got written, I had to listen to that over here and explain that we're not in trouble because we have Thames only in theory. But what I do want to ask you, if we were a private company, would we be worried about Thames? Because we'd just be working with them directly without bidding. I think the bidding stuff gets us in these like pickle situations where we have to have all these packages go out to all these places we know aren't going to bid on it, but we have to do it because of state law. But in reality, we're doing great with them because we work directly with them, just like we're doing with Fairhaven. With you mentioned, they flip it out of the water like a Boston whale and drive it across the street. I mean, how lucky we are. What if we had to put that out to bid every time something happened to the INO? We have no boat. So it's like we have a good relationship with these places, and we need to make sure that we, explain that in all these conversations so that media doesn't pick this up like there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, because there isn't really a problem. We're getting our timing of dry docks down so that the boats go out at the times where they can take it and we can still operate on our schedules, which is fantastic. And those are the things I see every day that I know are working the right way. And that doesn't make the headlines. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I just wanted to make sure that is explained, because just everything that's said gets taken in a way that is a problem sometimes. It drives me crazy. So that's a good thing that we have that relationship with Connecticut. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the good news is we have a great relationship with Maine Shipyard, and we work really well with them. They work their schedule around us, and it's been great. But there's another opportunity there for us. We need to make sure that we have something else in our back pocket, because we don't know what the future holds for things. I've seen that on the West Coast, that a lot of shipyards are getting bought out by hedge funds because they see there's tons of money coming into shipyards for naval ship repair. So, John Ranowski's a fabulous person. We love him. We love the work that he does for us, and we're going to keep that relationship going as long as we can. But we need to protect ourselves as well. So it's good for us just to keep going out there and make sure that we have a good palette of opportunity, and we don't want to close the door on any kind of chance.
Yeah. What's the closest shipyard that could do our work besides obviously them? And
I mean, the Boston ship repair could do our work, but it's just the math just doesn't work for a 1,000-foot graving dock and a 235-foot ferry. The evolution to get the boat out of the water alone is extremely costly.
Yeah,
we're I think we're in that middle ground where there's a lot of smaller shipyards. Hornblower has one, there's a few other smaller ones, but when you take the next size up, all of a sudden you're into big 1,000-foot commercial ships. And us at 230, 250, it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Just like to add with the loss of Senesco was, for us, it just changed the risk profile. And such that if we have something like a bow thruster sealed and the other shipyards are full, there's no place to go. So we really appreciate what Thames has done over the years for us. But for instance, they have their dry dock is going to dry dock this summer. At the end, I believe it's September. So it's a risk profile of something happening, another ship on the shipyard having, say, a large structural steel that goes over, that affects schedule. It's just that we're just in an area we'd love to have another opportunity, another yard in our back pocket. But like our relationship with Thames, other shipyards and ship companies have that same relationship. So everyone is trying to cover their own base, but it's risk for all this now.
Got it.
Yep. Okay, good conversation. And for the folks that may raise their hand from the public, if you would hold that for the public comment at the meeting, we'll take that up there. So if you have questions on material covered over the course of the meeting, we can take that up then.
Hey, Gordon, can I just add one point?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I understand, Nat, your point, but I also agree with the notion of the risk profile. And I guess one sort of the bigger takeaway I had from the conference was I felt that they painted a rosier picture of our ship repair capability, nationally than the reality of it. And so I think there's a pretty, we all hear about the administration focusing on shipbuilding and ship repair. It isn't a reality yet. broadly. And so I thought there was more talk of being a vibrant and optimistic business than the reality of it is painted by.
Yeah, you can, if you make any effort to listen to the current mayor and administrator who's hyper focused on increasing our capacity on shipbuilding and shipbuilding, it's certainly a priority, but he is a realist on what that will take, both from a facility perspective and an infrastructure perspective, but also a workforce perspective. You can't do anything without building that workforce pipeline, which is a significant gap as well. So, Eric.
Yeah, just to add what Rob's talking about, it's there's a lot of fluff out there, when it comes to shipyards. So it might be a good idea for us to look at this internally and really come up with a good cogent list that, of facilities that we can use up and down the East Coast, and certainly even in, the Louisiana area. We've done that in the past in Louisiana. We've done a lot of work in Louisiana. Everybody worries about the fuel, of course, but the reality is, where can you get this work done? Do you have a list of all of the places we can go and what their skill sets are? And the biggest delta in this whole system is just exactly what was said, workforce development. So much so, we're buying a new college up in Maine, new for us, to keep it afloat for workforce development in these exact areas. So I think, it's something that we need to pay attention to, because running a shipyard, they go out of business every 10 or so years. And it's really hard to maintain a shipyard. It's something we need to really be on top of.
Yeah, we send, just update that, we send our packages out to 20 shipyards, and we do have a list and have targeted that, but it's, everyone is in the same boat right now. We need more shipyards.
Yes. All right, great. Any other final thoughts? That was a really helpful and interesting conversation and the report on the conference. So really great. Any final thoughts? All right.
Thanks. We are going to switch over to an update on our grants. We started this last month with the board, and we're going to try to do at least quarterly, give you an update on where we stand on grants. So Caroline will do it for our grants administrator.
So I just wanted to give you guys a quick snapshot of what the Steamship Authority receives annually. On there is a table that shows the apportionments from 2024 to the present. We're still waiting on our 2026 apportionment from Federal Highway, but annually we receive approximately $5 million from the FTA and $5 million from Federal Highway through a combination of the 5307 urbanized area funding, 5337 state of good repair, and then the ferry boat and ferry boat facilities program through Federal Highway. And so we use these funds for capital projects and preventative maintenance only, with a cost share up to 80%. We are not able to use these funds for operating costs. So again, strictly PM and capital projects. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. So we obviously get a lot of project updates during these meetings. So just to give you an idea of some previously funded grant projects, we do fund primarily the entire dry dock repair program annually with these funds. We did the Barnesville and the Aquina vessel conversions, Vineyard Haven transfer bridge replacement, Nantucket transfer bridge replacement, the website and reservation system hardware project, the Fairhaven maintenance vehicle replacement, the Vineyard Haven slipport. Phase 1 of that project was funded with federal funds, as well as phase 2 and 3 coming down the pipeline. And then diesel bus replacement with battery electric buses. And I just want to pop back up to the Fairhaven maintenance vehicle replacement project on there. So well, those funds were actually not from or they came to us through the ferry boat program. But those funds were not actually for us or in our UZA. We were approached by Federal Highway and MassDOT that these funds were lapsing and not used in the Fairhaven UZA. And so we were able to quickly kind of put a project together. We had some vehicles that needed to be replaced down at the Fairhaven Fairhaven maintenance site. And so we put a package of equipment and vehicles that were needing to be replaced, and we're able to use those funds. So that was a little over $1 million that we were able to make use to get, because we were prepared. We had a project at the ready. We were able to use those funds that otherwise would have lapsed and would have not been used in the region. So next slide. Thank you so much. So this is the program of projects so far for the 26th to 2031. All of these projects are on their respective tip or stip. So from our formula, again, so these funds we receive every year. Again, we'll use the $5 million, approximately $5 million for our annual dry dock program. Main engine overhauls, replacement of 2 either electric or hybrid buses. It says electric on there, we're still having conversations internally. The Hyannis wastewater pump out replacement project, purchase of 4 new rescue boats, and the parking lot terminal traffic booth replacement and renovation. With use of our federal highway funds, the Vineyard Haven slip work, again, I mentioned phase 1 was already funded with federal funds. Phases 2 and 3 were already submitted and approved for funding. So that will fund phases 2 and 3. Fairhaven Transfer Bridge replacement and the Woods Hole Terminal landside improvements. And then so discretionary applications that we applied for in the 2026 program year. Some security system replacements, parking lot revenue and access control system, construction of a new vessel, the Nantucket Terminal feasibility study, and workforce training initiatives. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of our discretionary applications or any of our formula funding that flows down. Anyone has any questions?
Chair Leonard, of the competitive discretionary applications, of those, how many are sort of annual recurring versus sort of one-offs? There was from some of the big federal legislation previously, there were sort of discrete individual grant programs set up versus those that you might pursue for multiple years, right? When we often pursue competitive grant programs and we might get them on the 3rd try, right?
Yes.
As you improve. How many of those are sort of, bulleted versus potentially, future opportunities also?
So all of the, and again, I listed projects rather than programs or the federal programs. So I would say all of our federal programs that we applied for this year, actually with a couple that Alex highlighted for me this week, we've applied for every year they've been available since I've come on a few years ago.
So those are recurring.
Correct. We do see that with the changes in administration, we sometimes see changes to names of programs. So Raise is now Build. We're still waiting to hear, or the DOT hasn't published the low-no emissions program or the bus and bus facilities program. Sometimes again, with administration changes and the revisions to programs and then, approval of recreations and things like that, we see delays in the publishing of these.
And criteria changes often, right?
Significantly. Yes, with priorities of the administration. So it depends year to year, the timing, but we keep an eye on the same programs as they come through every year. We have a pretty good idea of what we're eligible for, and so we try to make use of those. Again, with practice comes a better application, whether it's the same project or not. But again, on the big scheme of things, Steamship is we're a small dot on the big map, I guess, or a small fish in the water pond. And so we try to really take advantage of the formula funds that we receive, knowing that the discretionary programs are very, very competitive, whether they be national or even the state scale.
And one thing you need to give yourself credit for is after every application, we do a hop on with the awarding body to find out what we score, what can we do better, what are we missing for the next application that comes through, because that's really valuable. So, well, you scored the max here you couldn't have gotten the max because your air is too clean, for example, or which we actually heard is that, or who's living in your area, but that way we can make sure our application, the following submission is better.
Yeah, in PIDP, the big one that Merit administers, if our application is not awarded, they still provide a debrief to us to improve the following year, which candidly, the first time I sat through it, I was going to be perfunctory. But it's not, it was actually very productive, very helpful, that feedback. I think I'd also say that because of the formula grants that you receive, you can demonstrate performance, right? That you were a reliable investment for federal dollars when you're chasing the competitive grants too. So that hopefully helps. Sorry, obviously, I spend my days thinking about this stuff. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a skill and we've acquired it. So that's fantastic. I'm curious about if you are seeing in programs that have been recurring, whether the funds are actually getting deployed from the federal government, because in my world, they have the funding, it's been appropriated, but it's not being obligated and distributed. So I'm wondering if you're running into the same issue.
Unfortunately, at this point, we haven't received any discretionary funding. I have on calls with folks from Mass DOT and at the state level. I've heard that through other programs, there is a delay in the funding coming in. That also then presents challenges sometimes when we're planning and for projects that, you're not going to have it even if we apply in 26, we won't have the funding until probably late 27.
Yeah.
But does that actually mean you'll receive the funding in late 27 if they're slow to receive it? And then what does that look like for the project timeline? And so, yes, I have heard that there have been some delays. It depends on program, depends on, again, the changing of the criteria and things like that with the administration, but just try to anticipate all of that and build cushion into the timelines of those projects.
Yeah, what we're observing is there's a throttle valve in OMB, and all the different agencies are having to go through another step, which adds time and obviously delays. I was also curious, just one other question about your cost share number, 80%. Does that mean we have 80% cost share, or that we get we have to make 20% of 100%?
So we the federal agency reimburses at 80%. So Steamship provides the 20% match.
Okay, all right.
I should say, I'm sorry, the formula funding, that's the pretty standard cost share. The discretionary programs based on the discretionary program, you may see a different, and we account for that as we're putting our applications and figuring these projects.
Okay, thanks. That's what I was hoping. That's what I was hoping was happening, but I wasn't sure that was
80%.
Yeah. But along those lines, in the context, I say this in the context of Eric's point earlier, many of those competitive discretionary programs will say 80-20.
Correct.
But if you cannot ratchet that number up and leverage the federal dollars higher, that will materially improve your chances.
Yes,
right? The one we have is 55-45 right now that we're administering right now. So that was at 2023. Yeah, so simply saying, okay, we'll put our 20% on the table doesn't necessarily improve your chances. We have to do that in the context of the cash challenge that I think Eric referenced earlier. So
I mean, leading on from when Peter, Jeffrey and I went down to DC a few weeks ago, we kind of built some more of those relationships with DOT and try to dig in and find more grant opportunities. Where is the money being allocated and where can we go? And FTA has some money that they have for transit centers. Well, we're a transit center, so we're working with our lobbyists to see if we can't unlock some of those funds. As we start expanding, if we want to fix up, do some work in Nantucket, if we want to build out New Bedford or whatever, what have you. So we're trying to chase down any available dollar we can.
And if I may, the one other thing that Carolyn's been doing is through our training and development fairs, giving all the employees how the grants work and the process. It's not an application comes out today. Our goal is to have a library of projects ready to go, and you're pulling them off the shelf that fits these needs and making sure, like Mark and his team, everyone understands the process. It's a roadmap and making sure we're in a better position to be applying for these and having these shovel ready.
Yeah.
Pending funding.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. It's the ability to turn the process around.
Right, because they pop up quickly.
Yeah. Any last questions on the grant reselling? All right. No, thank you very much.
Okay, now we're gonna do an update on our staff, on our crew staffing. That's Joe Russis from our ops center. We started this also last month at the board meeting. I think it's valuable for the board council as well.
Morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to provide a quick briefing just on current marine operations staffing levels. This presentation highlights where we stand today. Marine operations requires 243 crew members for the summer schedule. Actively, we have about 275. Coming the end of July, when the boats will be coming out of the shipyards, there'll be another 8 to 9 positions that will be opening up. We have 4 currently in training. 4 employees are currently on leave, an additional 12 to be called in once the vessel is back from the shipyard. Staffing levels currently support the schedule, no critical staff shortages. Training pipeline remains active for future needs and all workforce available to support demand for the future. Next slide, please. Sorry. Oh, yes, our current active training programs continue to develop future qualified personnel. We can better support vessel schedules, special the training requirements and vessel maintenance periods. Next slide. Looking ahead, our recruitment remains a priority as we prepare for future retirement and workforce transitions. As we continue to invest in training and succession planning to develop future captains, pilots, engineers, ABs, and oilers. We closely monitor workforce demographics and retirement eligibility to anticipate future staffing needs. Retention remains a key focus on preserve experience, institutional knowledge throughout the organization. Next slide.
That's the last slide of this presentation.
Yeah, there should be one more. Sure.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was just a quick presentation on attrition and succession planning. Currently, total employees 275, separated in the last year was 9, attrition rates around 3%. Only 9 permanent vessel employees separated, so we're about 3.3%. That is significantly lower in the transportation industry and maritime industry. Indicates strong employee retention and workforce stability. Next slide. So in the last, since 2020 from 2022 to 2023, in 1 year's time, 10 captains retired, 5 pilots retired. So the senior staff officer retirements were 15 in 1 year, which we would normally see 1 to 2 a year, but in 1 year we lost 15. So in 2017, we could see the future this was going to be happening. So we started an AB to ME program after identifying future retirement risk among senior vessel officers. The program is designed to develop internal talent, create a success pipeline, preserve institutional knowledge. Next slide. And the results, since 2023, we internal promotions from people going from AB to pilot was 10 external hires with captains and mates licenses. There was 7, so we've had since 2023, we've had 17. Outcomes successfully replaced retiring senior officers. Majority of new pilots developed from within the organization, demonstrates effective and long-term workforce planning. Next slide. And then for our unlicensed workforce, we started training back in 2023. We've successfully trained 67 employees. OSs to able seafarer, we've had 51. Wipers to QMEDs, we've had 16. And currently they're all working in those positions today. Next slide. Then looking forward to expand internal career development opportunities, continue AB to MATE advancement programs, explore maritime academy and internships, recruit, retain future vessel officers, maintain safe and reliable service through the workforce planning. And then I created a slide here. Notice in a couple meetings, people have mentioned about hours and days to go from an ordinary to an AB to a mate, and a mate to a captain. So quickly, so somebody gets hired as an ordinary, they need 365 sea days. Then they can go to the Coast Guard and apply to get their able-bodied seafarers. And then after 1,080 days of total service, they can apply for a mates. And then after 365 days of working mate pilot, you can apply to become a captain. So it takes about somebody coming in the door today that has no experience, it could take 8 to 10 years to become a captain within the fleet. So I've had people come in and go, I want to be a captain in 2 years. It's not possible. So that's why we really started going outside of the box and getting people from the outside to come in, while we're still training all our people inside that are interested. I've always said we're always investing in the best what we have at the Steamship Authority. And that's about it. So if anybody has any questions.
And I'll add, that Joe's really good about going out and pitching the Steamship Authority. He goes to high schools, local high schools, community colleges, all the maritime schools, and he's really getting the Steamship's name out there to try to pull in the best, whether it's, we just hired a Kings Pointer, thank God we hired a Kings Pointer. But we also, we obviously have lots of mass people, lots of Maine maritime cadets, but we also get people, just to come in as ordinary seamen. That's a great starting point.
And Joe, the slide, you've trained 67 employees.
Yes.
Since 2023 with 100% retention. They're also working.
They're all working.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's that. It's great. Other questions, Matt?
Joe, I've never met you, but I've heard all about you. And I just want to say thank you because I know what you're doing. And because I get told about you, I can't believe the stuff that's in your head. So hopefully you're not going anywhere. Thank you very much for everything you do.
Yeah, Joe doesn't just do recruiting, he also runs our ops center here and does all the staffing for the crews, make sure all the boats are running day to day, and anybody calls out sick, Joe's on the phone to get somebody to replace them.
Yep. Thank you.
That's great. Other questions, comments? Eric, I see your hand, please.
Yeah, just the great number there is the attrition rate, 3.3%. That's amazing, right? When you have that low turnover, that speaks volumes. And what it tells you is you've got somebody who cares about the people working on the vessels, which is my passion. I don't want to hear any more crap about Kings Point, by the way. You got a lot of Northeast Maritime kids working over there too, and I take offense that we don't get mentioned ever anywhere in the country. But our kids really do know how to work hard, and it's been so nice for me to see Joe work so hard to develop people, from the inside. The Steamship Authority worked the best historically. When you recruited kids and people from the local area, they had a great job. They were able to upgrade their licenses through hose piping. Those are your best employees historically. They care about the Steamship Authority. They care about the fact that they have a local job and they can get the same education that anybody gets at an academy, quite frankly. So at the end of the day, that's a great strategy. And I think you guys took this on in 2023 thinking that way, and that attrition rate is the biggest number you're showing us, because if you're losing somebody right off the bat, that's 36% of their salary, for annual salary that you're losing. So you don't have to retrain, you don't have to do that. So again, bravo Zulu to you. That's the number that I see is the biggest success story in your presentation, and that's a huge success. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That's excellent. Thank you. That's. All right. Zach Lawrence is out today, but Mark Emerson's gonna give us an update on our engineering and maintenance.
Hey, good morning. I'm stepping for Zach, so I'm shoot the messenger, but anyway, we have the Barnstable at dry dock at Dame Shipyard, and all is going to plan. The priorities in the dry dock are thruster work, coatings and shaft work. We're right on project, and right now we're at our budget. 1.7 million is a contract, and we'll be very close to that at the end. We're right in the middle of it, so we'll have a better update at the next meeting. She's due to be delivered later in middle of July. And with that, I'll take any questions. Next upcoming projects, we get the Sankaty dry dock spec is on the street, bid opening on the 6th of August. MV Woods Hole and MV Ino specs are under development and review. And also we have the Fairhaven Transfer Bridge Replacement Project specs are under development and review. And that I'll take any questions.
Hey, Mark,
Question. Yeah, go ahead.
Mark, these are sort of fall into the category of planned dry dockings and in terms of, the regulatory.
Yeah, these are statutory dry dock, US Coast Guard for all inspections and some may think, well, it just came out of shipyard. Well, we have to get them into cycle now.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing the Barnstable this year, Quinter next year, and just getting them into the cycle. But so far, it's been very successful.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, anything?
Yeah, just had a quick question for Mark relative to shaft removal on the Barnstable. It seems like a pretty significant thing with such low time. Is that a standard item or is it a peculiar scenario? And will the other vessels require the same?
We did the Monomoy shafting in the shipyard. Before we did the conversion project, we did our research and the vessels had just been put into shipyard prior to conversion, although I bet it's been a few years. So in our planning, this was always scheduled for the Barnstable to have the shafts drawn and next year the Quinter to have the shafts drawn. So this was a calculated statutory move.
Thank you.
Rob, follow-up question? You're getting a little off.
Yeah, just a comment. I enjoyed getting to know Zach and Will while at the conference. You got a couple of good guys there in important positions. So hats off to you.
And we have our engineering group is grown since 2019. Very proud of it. We've had very little our retention, and that has been excellent. And when you have people that have been start going into their third and fourth dry dock cycle like Zach has and like Will has, that value is just incredible. That you're not starting from a fresh, learning a new vessel. It's just having, staff retention is so important.
Any other questions from Mark on the?
Yeah, roger that. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to go take my video off. I seem to be having an internet problem.
Yeah.
Apologize for that.
That's okay. Okay, with that, we're going to switch over to the Woods Hole Terminal, which opened up a couple weeks ago with great success. I'm going to let Mark lead that since he brought that across the finish line.
Okay, it's great having, as everyone is aware, we opened the terminal last week, and so far we've got a lot of good comments on the terminal. It's for our people, it's fantastic for them to come in to be able to, it's just not the terminal building, it's the utility building as well. Go through some of the pictures here. You can see some pictures. We get the reservation the ticket counters and some of the front spaces. Next. And this is the seating arrangement inside the booth, inside the terminal building. Just some of the back end stuff that's on the right, the employee break rooms, and these are some areas for our employees. Next. This is a photo of the women's restroom. And this is of the men's restroom as well. Again, we've had great success on it. We've had a couple very minor minor leaks with all the geothermal piping and which a lot of it is in the building and underground. It's been a great startup, I believe, and we're still learning. We got our signage in place. We're still learning, getting the circulation patterns of our cars coming in, et cetera. So it's ongoing, but so far so good. Just some more pictures. The entrance Sean is going to be adding more media on the television screens as we get forward. Just some more pictures of the exterior of the building. And this is the utility building. That's where our employees will come in, break rooms, and they have locker rooms next. And great. It's been a real upgrade for our employees. Next. some more pictures, and that's a new generator system that we have. We don't need to test that too often though. Next, so with this, right now, we're at $38 million is our budget, right? Not our budget, but our where we are right now, and we'll be very close to that number. So we're just really finishing out phase 2 of this project, and we'll be coming up later. This is a plan view of the entire area with the terminal building, the center, and utility in the lower middle.
So if we go back to that slide, Sean, please. So this is our current fees phase. Actually, I think that we're working with the city of Falmouth on our curb cut there on the north side. And we're in talks with them on what that might look like and what we can operate in and out of there. One of the talks is that if we do get that, we're not gonna send any trucks out that route. All trucks will be come out Calgary Road and across the Crane Street Bridge. So we're trying to do our best to, we had that community meeting a few weeks ago. I heard all the concerns about traffic. We're trying to do what we can to mitigate it. We're working with Peter McConnery, the Department of Public Works, to try to minimize that. We would like to have that access point to at least send cars out there. If we have to not send trucks, we're working on that. Mark is working with Robbie Towns, the terminal manager, on what that would look like if we put the freight boats out of slip 1 instead of slip 3. And so that's going to adjust how we do the traffic flow on the site. But you can see in the upper northeast corner, if that's on a northwest scale. But then we're gonna have 200 bike parking slots there. Those are gonna be under solar canopy. There's gonna be a solar canopy going in on the employee parking lot, and then there's gonna be solar going on the terminal building as well. And just below the bike parking, that's where rideshare is slated to be. So we're gonna try to get it off the city streets and get more of the Ubers and the pickups drop offs there. Again, we're re-looking at that, and there's parking down there at the bottom part of that. We're trying to figure out the best ways to do that. We actually want to maximize the flow coming off Crane Street and Calgary Road. And we know that those booths there at the bottom, that's where the choke point is for traffic. And in looking at the traffic in the last few weeks, I see that when it flares up for half an hour or so, and then it dies down again. But we want to be on top of it so we don't get those flare-ups. So we're looking at what we can do to GZA is going back and see if we can expand that entryway a bit to make it a little bit more accommodating for more cars and really kind of increase the flow there and knowing that we're going to have a lot of traffic coming out of there as well. So we're trying to stay on top of it. We're trying to do what we can to minimize the impacts on the town. And of course, we got that park who's going to come in. That's going to be a great addition. That's the last phase that somebody showed me. There's been multiple phases, but if you look at the overarching phases, the first phase being docks, second phase being the terminal, the third phase being the site work. The site work, we're in the first part of that. Phase 3A is getting rid of the temporary buildings, the temporary terminal building, and the construction trailers. We're hoping to do that in the fall. We're going to split those out into 2 different projects. And then the site work itself will be doing all the landscaping, doing all the paving, and putting in all the solar arrays. And that'll start probably, at this point, it won't be until next year that we start. But we're going to keep that away from the summertime again. Okay. Great. Questions on the terminal project? Eric?
No questions, just Mark, fantastic job. Alex, I'm going to tell you something. You're a breath of fresh air. Thank you for reaching out to the community, engaging with the community, and keeping them informed and listening to them. And to Bob Davis, who's not here, wonderful job on this plan. Just really proud of this project. Again, as a kid that used to run around there barefoot, my greatest memories are of Woods Hole, and seeing this project is a proud moment for me on a personal level. But I think we all need to say thank you to you guys as a team. You're doing a great job. I'm just tickled pink to see where the Steamship Authority is these days compared to when I got on the Port Council. So I'm just so happy with the work everybody's doing. It's you deserve more than praise. So thank you all.
And I will say, we are bringing to the board next month. At the community meeting, I was offered two two items put into the lobby. One's a grand piano, which I thought was a fabulous idea. Well, I know a lot of airports are doing that. The other was a historic museum piece, and so we're working on those too. So trying to figure out how that would work and how it would fit in the space. But and I know Sean's working on some ideas to do kind of display the geothermal stuff on our. We have a variety of screens there. And what can we do to tell the story about how we're trying to be net zero, try to inform the public as well. It's not just like today, provide shelter from the rain. Yeah.
So real quick on that museum piece, there is a piece in the Fall River Maritime Museum from the NOBSCA that we might want to go look at to transfer into that lobby. And yes to the grand piano. I love that idea. I think that's just cool. Thanks.
Now we have three places. We only have so much space, but we'll get it happen. Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
All right, no more questions? Divisions.
Good. Mark will lead us through on the through North Rockland.
Okay, all this slide isn't the latest, but just want to give an update on the ADIA system. We're in the middle of the project right now. We've just received today the R1.4, which is the next test of we'll be testing that level. We have run into some issues on testing. We're working through them with the DIA. We're expecting much better results with as you go through the R1 through R1.1 through R1.4, where we're at now. The testing numbers should go up. We're hoping to get better percentages. We're working with the DIA on it. We expect them back on site next week. A lot of work going on right now. So the testing is a real big to keep with our project timeline is very important. But this is the hard part. We've got so moving, just looking at the progress to date. So DIA is on site next week. We're going to begin testing our 1.4 this week. Shared procurement plans and timelines with the board. Upcoming key events with the R1.4, which is going to lead into the R1.5 later in July, which is really important because that's going to be the kind of the final delivery of the software till we get to a point of all the testing complete. So the system will be configured. So we're getting there, but we're not real happy with our progress, but we can make it up in the next couple of weeks. We're hoping, according to ADIA, but time will tell on that. Business decisions, procurement, integration, infrastructure, finalizing policies, create data migration plan, which we have that's ongoing, terminal operational flow, testing, identify training resources. We're interviewing right now with the Mass State contractor for the training program. As you see, that will be further down. That is in the red. Would like to be ahead of it. We have not received the training package from India yet, but we need to be in a position to execute it as soon as we get it. So we hope to be getting further ahead on that. Key risks, of course, the IT and operations, current policies. We'll be getting the next phase of policies going out, and we'll be starting. Hopefully in July, we'll be coming out with. We're going to be doing our next set of town halls and meet shippers. So we're going to be coming out with dates for that in the very next week. And with that, we wanted to take any questions.
Do you want to talk about this? Get one more slide.
Oh, okay. The beta group, of course, we need to have all the R1.5 complete so we can roll out the beta. So as we are right now, we have some questions saying, are you an island resident? And response 5. Next question, and they split that with Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. As you can see, the variations that as far as being freight shippers, commuters, seasonal and full-time. We had 61 responses to the survey. Again, we want to get back out. We're looking forward to the next beta group meeting, which will be coming out with that shortly.
Just one more note on that. Before the holiday, talked with the project team about a public information campaign to try to engage more Nantucket residents. I mean, it's typical that like on our customer surveys, it would be like a 2-to-1 split Vineyard to Nantucket just based on the demographics, but this is low even for, yeah, so we're gonna do a little bit of outreach to Nantucketers to try to get them engaged in this process.
Yeah.
Nat.
Right.
Any more questions? Well. With the testing, Mark, is there schedule risk that you're looking at if that takes more time?
We want to get back, we've had this discussion with highest level in India. They're expecting a significant uptick with the R1.4 of this week. They've been a great company to work with. This is the hard work. This is the stuff you can't see, we're hoping that we're gonna get through a lot of the bugs which we've got up to the present time that'll clear out in this next set of testing. And so this is a hard part.
I think the responses, we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I think Mark is definitely confident. Having it out here has been fabulous. It's really helps things. So we're looking forward to having him next week. That's gonna really help move things forward. And then Mark's trip to BC Ferries was just a fountain of information. And then Allison and Tom and Stephen going out to Calmac, that was a great opportunity. We built some great relationships there. So those things will help speed us up and help guide us in how to approach the DA and how to work with the DAs. They've been through all this before, so they were give us some good pointers on how to work with the DA.
Great, John?
Well, am I muted?
No, you're good.
Okay. Actually, I think Alex just answered my question. I was curious as to what were the benefits of going out to BC and to CalMac. So it sounds like you just articulated that.
Yeah. Mark, you want to add anything?
I think Allison, want to come up and give just a quick update.
Allison Fletcher is our director of shoreside operations, and she led the team out to Calmac. Just talk about the operation, not the tourism part of it.
It was Scotland. What do you want?
Sorry.
What do you want to ask?
Slideshow.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? No, it was extremely informative when we went out there. We actually learned a lot from what they did when they went live with the system about 3.5 years ago. They went with the whole big bang switching over one day as opposed to phasing it in like we're planning on doing. And they said that going with the big bang was probably one of the biggest mistakes that they could have made because they weren't ready for that huge switch over all at once. And Mark, didn't you say BC had a similar responsibility as well? So knowing that if they said if they could do it all over again, they would do a phase start like we're planning on doing it currently, which was really good. They still are learning and they still have some issues that they're overcoming currently, but they've also set up a center of excellence, which is basically a learning center where they do all the training. And it's for them, it's started out for the new reservation system, but it's also growing into the other departments as well. So they're training, they're onboarding vessel employees and everything else as well. So that's something that we sat with them for a while in regards to that part of the program. And that is something that we want to look at potentially start rolling out here as well. So, but it was extremely helpful. We were watching them load using the handheld scanners. I mean, I myself have had my concerns about handheld scanners and if they're going to work accordingly or not. But after going out there and talking with them and then also talking with Stephen and knowing the changes that we've been doing to our Wi-Fi, that we are actually going to be in a pretty good place going forward with these things. So my faith has gone up with them. So it's for that way. They
That's
actually
great.
were a little surprised that I went complete 180 on them on that one. So
And also, Allison, did I see that they're going to offer some of their training materials as well?
Yes, we gotta reach back out to them. I haven't heard back yet. They were gonna share some of the PowerPoints that they use for their training materials. So we can use that to kind of start working on ours as well, so. But
Perfect.
they, we were talking with the young woman that's in charge, well, one of the women that are in charge of that group and how they do their training. It's small sessions, one-on-one kind of with the programs, which is nice, so.
Right.
It's not, here's your book, learn it, go forth, have fun, which is good.
Great. Thank you.
It's good news.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, on to old new business.
That it for the
That's
general
it,
manager?
general manager.
Any final questions for the general manager before we move on to the lightning round, sort of, we've got a lot of old new business.
Well, we can zip through some of these.
We can,
Lightning round. Yeah.
what's that?
No, you're making me laugh. Lightning round. That was good.
Yeah, I say it with irony,
Yeah.
going to a long meeting, so, but the first item is an update in the status of, the license request from offshore Target Transportation, that had been submitted to run, some freight from New Bedford to, Nantucket. Welcome, nice to see you again. I know we have been, talking about this for a bit. Really trying to understand what the demand is that's being would be met by OTT. What that gap that perhaps the Steamship Authority can't fill, because that's one of the priorities when we're looking at issuing these licenses. And as I've said a few times, and have had a very good and open conversation with the company, that the potential for the recycling off island to New Bedford would be under some restrictions at the request of the Port Authority, but they've been most willing to accommodate as far as how that what gets transferred through New Bedford from Nantucket to now. I believe the vessel is now back and fully licensed and ready to go. So the discussion, I think, for the Port Council and then to roll up to the board is whether to issue a sort of pilot trial license for them to see how it operates. Most particularly how it operates within the slip in Nantucket and the potential conflicts for the Steamship Authority operations. So that's some table setting. I don't know if there are other thoughts from Steamship staff or the Port Council about a trial license for OTT.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I think we need to do this. I think it's a good, it'll be a good trial, if nothing else. Hopefully it is successful and it's profitable for OTT, that'd be great. But definitely need to do it in consideration of the bridge, future bridge work. Just having an alternative port where we're getting freight out of, and I recognize that it has to be financially feasible for us to make sense. And I think we can do that in a licensing arrangement. I know when our initial offer to them was 100% coverage of our freight, they came back at a lower rate. And I think we can negotiate something there that makes it work. I think you know, we do count dollars and cents, so that is important, but I think this is a really important pilot project that we really need to try for the region and for us and for the future of Nantucket.
And what term have you been talking with them about as far as a pilot?
I think, well, the initial dates have passed because it was over the summer, so we'd have to relook at it, but I think it was a 9-month pilot was what we looked at initially.
We looked at a 9-month.
Yeah, so we would look at the same thing and then with the idea to expand beyond that.
Okay. And my understanding is that the license is sort of a prerequisite or something that you need in order to have the conversations with Waste Options about moving and supporting that surplus recycling that's building up on the island, right? So we don't know what that's going to be necessarily and whether that makes financial sense until you have the license. So some of this is a little bit on spec, which is why the 9 months will kind of shake out some of those questions. All right, so that's sort of the, where we are right now. I would work with, in my, New Bedford Port Council, role with the staff on some of those license provisions that I've discussed with OTT. And you would work out the financial numbers. It would presumably be a recommendation to the board to approve. Right. The pilot license under the terms of, negotiated by staff. Other questions though for the Port Council before I seek such a motion?
I think that would be a good foresee for what happened with the vineyard. The works on Nantucket, they beat right to work on with the vineyard. So I think it's probably a good thing to do this particular time.
All right, other, questions?
I think we're prepared to make a motion, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
then I will entertain a motion to recommend to the board to enter into a short-term pilot license with OTT under the terms agreed to between the Steamship Authority staff and OTT.
So moved.
Joe?
Yeah, second.
Second, thank you. All in favor, John?
Cahill, yes.
Eric?
Aye.
Greg?
Yes.
Nat?
Aye.
Rob? Oh, he's muted, but, okay, and Joe?
Aye.
And Gordon's an aye as well, so, we'll let you, work out those details perhaps in time for the,
Gordon, I didn't hear Rob's vote, we kind of need it on the record.
Okay, here's his hand right.
No,
No,
that's
that's
my
my,
cursor.
that's my cursor.
Oh,
Rob, can you unmute yourself to vote?
he may have walked out.
There he goes.
Hello. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Rob. Prepare for detail.
Apologize.
No, that's all right. Excellent, all right, so we'll see how that goes to, all right, the July board meeting.
The next item we have is the request that Joe and I had from the Veterans Association on Martha's Vineyard. We have George. How do I pronounce your last name? Sorry. Pimentel here, and he's gonna do a little presentation on what he's looking support for. Do you want to come up?
I think you may also be speaking from Nantucket also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, stop. Thanks for having me. My name is George Pimentel. I'm the Director of Veteran Services for Dukes County, and I'm here with three requests. First is one of my responsibilities is to work with the families and funeral homes when a veteran passes. And in a lot of cases, we have honor guards come over to present the flag and do the memorial service. Currently, there's no formal program in place. And a lot of cases, these happen at the very last minute. In a lot of cases, we can fly the honor guard over from Joint Base. In a lot of cases, they have to come over on foot. What I am asking for is for Steamship to create a program where a courtesy vehicle transport would be provided for the honor guard to come over. In June, we had 4 honor guards come over, and they happened at the last minute. And thankfully, we were able to get them all reservations to come over. And in some cases, the branch has to pay for the vehicle to come over. In other cases, the county can pay for it. And so my first request is to develop a program where the Steamship would provide courtesy transport for each of the honor guards that would come over. There's about maybe 4 a month that come over. That's my first request. Any questions on that?
Questions from the council?
Mr. Chair, I would prefer to hear all 3 of them before we move into a conversation.
Sure.
Okay.
That's one.
The second is for active duty members. When they come on, they get a 50% discount. Veterans receive no discount, yet they were all active duty at some point. And they can receive a discount if they use the medical program where you have to have 5 appointments scheduled, and everyone knows that program. My approach is to make this quite simple, is if they are an island resident, that they would receive a 50% discount, provided they can provide a DD-214, which is the holy grail document for military. And they have an honorable or general discharge. Dishonorable discharges would not be allowed on the program. The veteran would be, so there's only one vehicle per veteran that would be allowed. They have to have a profile set up with Steamship, and the veteran must be in the vehicle in order to use the discount. So just to kind of mitigate abuse and those types of things, again, only one car per veteran. They must have an honorable or general discharge. The veteran must be in the vehicle and must show proof of identification before they can board the vessel.
Can I interrupt, Mr. Chairman, just real quick on that one issue? Sir, thank you for everything you're doing, by the way. Is he referring to a one-way ticket originating from the mainland when he talks about this particular thing, or is this in addition to the excursion discount direction?
This would be traveling from the island to the mainland.
So you're asking for a lower rate than the excursion currently gives, correct?
Correct.
For the vehicle part.
Correct.
Okay.
A lot of the island veteran population, and I'll speak for both the islands, are Vietnam era heavy.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people are retired.
Yeah.
They live month to month. They were blue collar workers growing up. So they don't have deep pockets.
I'm totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that what you were saying, I wasn't 100% sure that you were talking about leaving only. So that's why I asked, but I got it. That's good. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Great. Number three.
So the third is part of, I'm on a transportation coalition on the island. And the third request that we are kind of exploring at this moment, and Cindy, Trish with Healthy Aging, MV is on the call as well as Angie from VTA can speak to this better than I can, is when we're trying to get a pilot program going where there is a bus that the Boston Hospital operates that is at Sagamore Bridge every Monday through Thursday. And it's to have islanders come over, vineyarders come over on a 6 o'clock boat in the morning to catch the bus at Sagamore, which will take them up to their appointments in the Boston area and then bring them back. One of the options that we're exploring, would it be possible for Steamship, when the people come off the boat in Woods Hole, to provide transport for them from Woods Hole to Sagamore, and then pick them up and then come back around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening and then bring them back to Woods Hole. Those are the three requests. And Cindy, if you can speak, or Angie, that'd be great.
Welcome, Angie.
Can you hear me? I'm Cindy.
Yeah, Cindy, welcome. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for, by the way, for being willing to listen to our requests. So just to support what George just mentioned to you, our Older Adult Transportation Coalition includes 15 agencies on the island, including the Steamship. And we've been really focused in the past on addressing transportation needs on island. For older adults alone, we are estimating 8,000 to 10,000 off-island medical visits a year. That's only for older adults. This request we're asking is for all vineyarders. And what we are trying to do right now is to shore up the opportunity for older adults to get to the Boston hospitals for medical appointments. Currently, we have one program, the Medivan, that runs 1 day a week with a very tight timeline that appointments can be made in Boston with specialists. So what we are trying to do is to get something going that utilizes the existing options from the Cape to Boston instead of creating a program from scratch. So that is really why we want to, working with the CCRTA, we know there will be the capacity to bring vineyarders on that Sagamore bus every morning, but the problem is getting them from the ferry to the bus. we're exploring some other options, but really today was about understanding kind of your willingness and appetite to help us figure out what's the best way to get a program going that can utilize what exists already. And that, from our perspective, would be that transportation piece from Woods Hole to Sagamore. So, we're throwing that out as an option. We do have some other requests just in general for concierge support for older adults on the boats as they're coming to get transportation on the other side. But let's just stay focused on this one particular request would be, is there any way that the steamship could utilize one of their vehicles to do that run Monday through Thursday morning, and in return to take vineyarders who would pay a nominal fee, and we would get them to the boat, you would get them to the bus would get them to Boston.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Angie, you have something to add?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I just wanted to also throw out that obviously we're well aware of the Sagamore Bridge construction and that we're viewing this solution as what I'll call temporary-ish. Hopefully we can begin in September, which is when CCRTA has indicated that they would have some capacity and for us, but also being mindful of the fact that we know that there's going to be construction and we need to come up with a longer term solution, within the next 15 to 18 months.
All right, great. Thank you. I thought I saw Angela Campbell raise her.
I think that she did, but I think that the question got answered.
Okay.
Reading her mind a little bit.
Okay, thank you. All right, so 3 requests before the council. I'd say one of these things sound like the other. The first, I'll start, I guess, and welcome input from other members. It certainly seems that if there's a benefit for active duty, that benefit ought to continue when they're veterans as well. So, I mean, my instinct on the first 2 is if it can work, and if it isn't, I would need certainly input from staff. The third one, I certainly would need input from staff. That seems like a pretty extensive expansion of scope for the Steamship Authority, and something that we would need to think about and figure out what the best method is. So that one I think needs a little bit more contemplation and analysis, and whether it is through CC with the Regional Transit Agency on Cape or what have you. I certainly get the request and the reasoning. Feels different for me than the first 2 that were presented to us. I don't know if staff's had a chance to think about what the effects would be on that, but would be interested in that either now or the next time we gather. Other comments or questions from the council? Joe and then John.
What I might suggest is that the VTA keep a bus over here. One of their buses provide somebody themselves through the VTA expansion and let the VTA take them to Bourne and have the VTA bring them back from Bourne.
So you're talking about having a vehicle.
And the vehicle, I
Yes,
think
what's
the school department does that.
Yeah.
The school department keeps a school bus here.
Yep.
Maybe there's some way they could work that out, but that may, because I know we could run into a problem with Peter Pan and with Brockton about having Steamship Authority cutting in on their business by having that's
one example.
that could be a problem. But if it's possible for the VTA to keep one of their vehicles here and have a VTA person come over, drive it up, he goes back, and later on during the day, he goes back over, drives up and brings everybody back.
And that remains a VTA. Yeah, that's an interesting suggestion.
I think that was one of the options, is having the vehicle be parked at Woods Hole.
Yeah, Woods Hole, yes,
Yeah.
maybe that's something that could be done.
That's what we can look into, see if where that space would be allocated, but yeah, it's something. The challenge with using our own buses is getting personnel. During the summer, our buses are pretty well fully staffed, fully utilized, just getting to our own parking lots, let alone trying to get up to Sagamore. And that means bringing on additional personnel, which again comes down to dollars and cents for us. For sure, what can we afford? On the second option, the veterans, I mean, I do appreciate all these, and I'd love to be able to say yes, just easily like that, but again, it's dollars and cents for us, so the veterans discount on that, it's. Can we realistically say, okay, we're only gonna give veterans discounts to island residents? What about all the other veterans out there, cause there's a huge number of veterans off Cape and elsewhere, and then there's like, well, why aren't we getting some kind of discount as well, and. And in addition, I know a lot of them are Vietnam era, so they're already getting senior discounts as well. So there's that. So I'm not sure. I think it's something we need to flesh out more on our side.
I think you guys need to do the analysis and try to see what the effects would be on that and those other. Right. What do you mean will have to do versus
right?
Yeah.
John, and then Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, both you, Joe, and Alex just covered most of my key points. Maybe what we need to think about is have this group that just talked to us have a point person to share more information so we can get the data and make some, educated decisions. And I think as Alex pointed out, is to include finance as well.
Yeah. Eric?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think in terms of the honor guard, that's a no-brainer. I think it's that's something that we should really support. That doesn't really require a lot of analysis or debate. That's something that is so important. As a veteran, as the youngest director of the Coast Guard Foundation, I'm a lifetime trustee of the foundation. I have to deal with this stuff every day. And sir, thank you for everything that you do. I know what you do. I have these conversations weekly. So this shouldn't be a bureaucratic debate on the honor guard piece, right? That's an easy one. In terms of the 50% discount for the veterans on the islands, question, I think Nat asked the question, is this less than the excursion rate? I can't remember what the excursion rate is in that program, how far that is discounted. Alex, the islands are the reason the Steamship Authority exists. No other reason, not the Cape, not anybody else. So the reasons we exist is for the islands, and the veterans on the islands. Basically, there are 1,175 veterans in Dukes County. So if we're going to analyze that, how does that maximum effect of 1,175 veterans affect the bottom line? I'm not sure it'll affect it much. So when it's time to vote, I know I'm going to vote yes. I don't care what the number is. We exist because of the islands. We have veterans on the islands. I'm pretty passionate about veterans, by the way. It is, I know what veterans go through, and they're shit on daily. We don't do enough for our veterans. So this shouldn't be a discussion, right? But for good faith effort, let's have a discussion. The question I have, is this more of a discount than the excursion rate? If it's not, use the excursion rate. That's the way to go. If it's more of a discount than the excursion rate for 1,175 people, you're probably going to get about a 20 to 30% use case. That's not going to hurt us, right? And it's a one-way rate change. So it's respectful to do the analysis, but again, we are a quasi-government agency. And again, we don't do enough to thank veterans in this nation. And for us to even kind of hem and haw about it kind of offends me a little bit, quite honestly. So, for me, it's a go. On the bus request, I love the idea that Joe brought up. That's just a solid concept is having a VTA vehicle on site, at certain times of the week or if it's the whole year. And I'd be willing to help you out. Just get my number from these guys. I will help you figure out how to get a vehicle stationed there. I think that's a great idea. And Joe, thank you for that suggestion because that solves everybody's problems. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Pat?
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Alex brought up a lot of stuff that is actually pretty good for a guy that's been here for 6 months. He's caught on to some of this. So I just want to ask Allison through you, Mr. Chairman, some of our rates, and this, I'm sorry, sir, that came here, and I just have to ask these questions because this isn't the first time the stuff has come up for other things. Child ticket is essentially a senior price. I believe the senior rate is the same as a child. I'm talking about passengers now. And the books. I think that this conversation, it needs to reevaluate some of the stuff that we already have because it's already in place. Now, Eric just said, I caught him saying something about one way on the excursion. I think he said, an excursion is a round trip, regardless of, I mean, you don't have to use the return, but like whatever the rate is for the excursion, if there's 1,169 people in the vineyard, they're already eligible for that same rate now. I think this is a bigger conversation than just saying they needed a discount. They should get at least the rate that we're giving seniors already. If we need to establish a different rate for veterans, active and not, I think that's the question right now. I think that's the simple question. I'm talking about passengers right now. Sorry, I shifted from the excursion. Excursion is a different conversation than the passenger tickets, in my opinion. And we haven't even talked about Nantucket yet because we don't have all these same issues as far as like getting people to wherever and all that. I don't even know where that would go here in this conversation right now. But I just think that in regards to establishing a new pricing for books versus one-way tickets, I think staff has to work that out. I don't think this is about losing revenue. I think this is about smoothing and making it simple without it being, we're trying to create a new normal out of something we already have in place for some folks. I think that's basically what we're doing. So formalizing it. And I think that has to happen through staff, not here right now as far as a policy. I think it needs to be looked at in regards to the current discounts that we already give and what's in place. And the new computer system, I would assume too, would be part of the conversation as well. But making sure it all fits into the new mold that's coming. And if we feel that they deserve a lower rate than just a senior gets, I mean, I think that decision is what we're going to need to discuss, which I don't disagree with. I'm just saying I think that has to be part of the conversation.
Here.
Okay, and then the whole child thing. I mean, I've been arguing about that for 20 years, 12 years old. It's kind of funny. A 13-year-old is an adult, but whatever. That's a separate conversation. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's where we've done it. We've based it on that.
All right, so we can come back on the second option. We'll do a little bit more research on our side to just be able to kind of address that properly and come back. We'll come back to the board. The boss, we can look at the VTA. That certainly make it much easier for us. If we want to move ahead with the honor guard section and peel that off. Oh, I mean, Angela.
Yeah, Angela, you're back. Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify, we currently do not give discounts to veterans for vehicles, period. Whether you're active or not, anybody in service, there is no discount for vehicles. The only discount is for passenger tickets. I just want to clarify that because when it was brought up earlier, just, it sounded like it was the same thing and it's not. Just clarifying.
Right.
But,
Okay, thanks, Angela.
but Angela, if you are living on the vineyard, you get an excursion, whether you're a veteran or not, if you qualify. I think that's where the confusion came in. Okay. That's why I asked if we were talking about a one-way originating on the vineyard, on the Cape. That was my first question in this whole conversation. I just want to make sure we separate that, because that's a whole entire different conversation.
Agreed. And to Alex's point, something that we need to discuss and come back with, but I just wanted to clarify that point. That was all.
Yep. Thank you, Angela.
Yep, thank you.
So if I can just summarize quickly, the first option was providing comp tickets for an honor guard, and those are about 4 months. The second option was a veteran's discount, 50% off the excursion rate for one vehicle, one passenger, for anybody with an honorable discharge. And the third option was the idea of a bus from Woods Hole to Sagamore. Correct? Yeah. So if you want to, we can take the number two, and we can still work on that on our side, and bring it back to the board. Number two, if we can look at the BTA doing that, that'd be ideal. And then if you want to take an action on number one.
I think I have a sense of the council, if there's a motion to recommend approval of the honor guard comp request.
So is this for a vehicle or passenger? We just need more clarity from the motion.
It would be a vehicle and in most cases 4 passengers.
It sounded like a vehicle. Yeah. Sorry, Jack.
It would be a government vehicle, normally a van.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure we have it in the.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll also move that motion.
So we got a couple questions.
I'm sorry.
Rob, question?
Yeah, I just, I'm, maybe I missed, I'd be interested in understand the number, the quantity that we're talking about. It sounds like a very small number, but what's that number?
Yeah, it's hard to predict, and it's sad when they do happen. But I'll just take last month, for example. We had 4 honor guards come over for services.
Okay. The reason I asked the question, this isn't in any way discounting the importance of the first one or any of the other two, but the primary job of the Port Council is to sort of oversee the fiduciary aspects of the steamship and provide advice to the board. And I guess I would, in all cases, want to really understand the financial impacts. It sounds like, in the first case, maybe it's, infinitesimally small. I don't know that, but in all 3 of these, I would feel that we need to have a real understanding of the financial aspects, just to, be able to make a better informed decision.
We can go back and see, I think we can go and find in the last year how many honor guards there have been for Martha's Vineyard and for Nantucket. Bring that back to the board, the board council.
It's not a significant number. I would guess if you would, take on an annualized basis, we're looking at maybe, 50, 60 honor guards coming over.
Right. It sounds like the council would like to hear that now before we advance a motion recommending to the board. So why don't we do that? We can pick it up in a month's time. John?
Another question I would have, building on what Rob had to say, is how do we know that a veteran might come across saying that he's part of the honor guard and we won't know that? Take advantage of that discount.
I sure understood the question.
Can somebody piggyback on the honor guard as a veteran, just, but not actually a member of the honor guard? It doesn't sound like that's the way it works, because it's an official vehicle that brings them.
These are active duty military honor guards. This is their responsibilities to be. That's right. This is their MOS. Is to perform these services.
And they'd be arranging a ticket with the reservations office. So yeah.
So if I may answer Rob Junior's question, it's about 12 grand for the vehicle, assuming 50 vehicles a year round trip. So the vehicle portion would be about 12 grand for the honor guard.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get the full analysis of it before we vote. Okay, real quick, Rob and Matt,
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman, to the gentleman. Do they always have to bring a vehicle, the honor guard, or can they just come on the boat with what they need? I'm just asking. If this was the Nantucket side, we would be talking about free fast ferry tickets. We wouldn't be talking about a vehicle because
So in a lot of
it's
cases,
just too
yeah,
complicated.
So in a lot of cases, we try to get them air transport from Joint Base. So there's an air wing there that we can fly them over on a Black Hawk or a fixed wing when they're available. And it's listed as a training mission when they come over. The other part is if they do walk on and they have walked on before, they don't they're in their civilian clothes. So they have to carry their dress blues, their flags, bugles, their gear, all those types of things.
Yeah.
And normally they're up early in the morning, and it's just a very good gesture, I believe, on Steamship's part to allow them to drive their vehicle on. It's just a much easier trip for them, given the responsibility that they have when they're at the cemetery performing their duties.
Okay, I obviously had no idea about all that, so I apologize for not knowing all this other stuff. I'm just thinking of it completely different than what you're saying, so that's good that you explain that. And the other issue I would suggest, and I don't know if the system has this on the Vineyard route, we have a reverse excursion on this side for parking for people that have cars in their lots, in our lots. And I'm wondering if there's a way to implement that as a suggestion to staff. Otherwise, they would have to get on the boat. They would have to be like the ambulance, like we do with the ambulance now, with the travel ambulance on this side. They get on with a phone call pretty much in the same day to run over here with someone or pick somebody up. And it works really well. It's been going on for a long time now.
Can I
that kind of a situation, I think they would have to have the ability to be able to get on the boat.
Can I interject real quick? Do you guys know what the honor guard actually does? And
Yes.
Sir, you might want to explain it, what the honor guard actually does, because I don't think people understand the equipment that has to go over. I don't think
I'm agreeing with the vehicle, Eric. I didn't understand it. So
I don't mean to. I really feel like we might just not know all of the gear that has to be transferred over there.
Yeah, I did. That's what he just explained, and I understand.
It might be even more than he explained. It's a big deal.
Eric, can I just interrupt you for a second? This is the first time we've talked about this.
Yeah.
So have a little,
understanding
of that. This is like
my
a huge
apologies
conversation
too.
that we've never even had. So I'm trying to understand it from the Nantucket side versus the Vineyard side, because it's completely different over there. And I'm trying to understand and wrap my head around it. And I'm sliding over to your thinking. It's just taken me a few minutes to get a handle on it.
Yeah, no, my point is should we probably really need to explain what the honor guard does and what the honor guard carries with them equipment wise? It's a big deal.
Thank you, which we can do, right? Because unless I missed it, in our packets was the inquiry for the discount for the veterans. The other two were not, I don't think, in our materials. So let's let the staff go back and do the work that we asked them to. I don't think there's any great hazard in waiting a couple of weeks for us to make this recommendation for both of these. And along the way, we can all learn, as you say, what goes into the honor guard.
If I could, so one of the things that would be helpful with the honor guard part is to having an emergency point of contact that we could reach out to. Because in a lot of cases, I'll give you a real world example, and this is I want to give a shout out to Christine in Reservations. This was 2 Fridays ago, 6 o'clock at night. I get a call from the honor guard. They just lost their air support, and we had a service on Saturday at 11:30 at Vineyard Haven. And they call and it's like, can someone just pick us up? We'll just walk on. And I said, yeah, I'll pick you up. And I said, just give me a little bit. I'm going to call Steamship. I called Christine. I have her extension. And 6:15 at night on a Friday, it was a holiday, she picks up the phone. And I went, I can't believe you're still there. And she goes, yeah, I'm just, working, they're busy. And I said, I have a situation. And she said, give me a minute. And so she has the Dukes County profile information. And she said, I can get them on a 7 o'clock and I can get them back on a 5 o'clock. And I went, that would be wonderful. And I let this honor guard know. And they just said, George, this is amazing. It's like we were like dreading because it's going to be hot, coming over with all our gear, our uniforms and everything and the flags. Just for them to drive on made a big difference. And I just want to give a shout out to Christine, because she is always going above and beyond help.
And that's kind of what I was referring to about the ambulance on this side, how they do it. You can get on a boat with a vehicle, with a regular vehicle, pretty much. There's always going to be room for something. It's just the contact and keeping it simple and making it work. So what you just said is exactly right. So,
All right, so
thank you.
I just need to level set for that. We're at the 2-hour mark on the meeting so far. We have a couple of other pretty important items to discuss, including the general manager's review and then public comment. So let's see if we can run through the last comments quickly from Rob and Angela, and then move on. Sorry to wave the hand.
Yeah, I just had one question. I wanted to confirm that the honor guard are paying for this out of their own pocket. So would we be this would be a benefit to them individually?
Currently, they do not pay out of their own pocket. The branch would pay for it or the county pays for it. What I'm requesting is for Steamship to give it a courtesy trip to come over.
So the savings would go to the county or to the branch, I think is the answer to your question, Robert. So,
and the other part of this with the honor guards, it gets complicated for them to file their paperwork. It's the government, and this. I don't think this is a big ask.
It may not be, but we've identified a number of questions right now that just had come up that the Port Council did not know, and we just need to evaluate this. So, why don't we take the time to do so? Angela, last thoughts.
I just wanted to say that in emergencies, I am always the person of contact. If you have something going on, even if it's after hours, you can shoot me an email. We can also get you my cell phone number if you need to contact me via that way as well.
Thank you, Angela. I'll put George in touch with you. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you, George. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George.
Thanks,
All
George.
right, I will proactively ask the indulgence of the council and anyone else for at least another 30 minutes or so to make sure that there's enough time to get through the remainder items of the meeting. So
I think the next 3 are pretty quick.
Well,
so the confirming the capital, the meeting schedule for the new committees. Ted Gavin is planned the 3rd Thursday of the month for the governance committee. I think for the capital projects, it was gonna be the 2nd Tuesday of the month. I just want to get confirmation if that works for everybody who's on the capital projects committee. Just letting you know that
these are 10 a.m. meetings. The same.
They're gonna be 10 a.m. meetings. So we're talking the 2nd Tuesday of every month will be the capital projects committee. So that'll start. Well, I guess that'll start next week, and then the 3rd Thursday for the governance committee.
What time will those in?
8 to 10 a.m.
Okay, because I will be 2 a.m. maybe 3 p.m.
At 2 a.m.
I'm trying 2 p.m.
That's 2 p.m. Okay, we'll get you back.
All right, I think those will probably work. Socialize those. Southeast steering is, I think, the 3rd Tuesday. Of the month, so we'll have
4th Tuesday.
The board is
3rd. It's going to be a lot of meetings.
My Tuesdays are full. So
the next item is an update on the early morning. So starting in May, we start tracking trucks that arrive early in the morning to see who's coming in too early, because we have well, I'll let Allison take the lead.
Oh, you seem to be going pretty well.
I know, I was on a roll.
Yeah. So back in the summer of 2020, we started with sending out a letter, which was in the packet that you all received. Those letters go out at every schedule change that we have, informing our drivers on what time they should arrive for the vineyard route, Nat, so don't worry, you've never received it.
I see it.
So this is to let them know when they should be arriving. This is extremely important when we have the 5:30 a.m. trip out of Woods Hole. It states that they should not be on property until 5:10. So ever since the summer of 2020, we've had the operations team, which falls under Joe, reviewing our camera footage and marking down what truck shows up at what time. That list is in turn sent to me. I take a look at the list, I see when they were booked, and if they show up 2 minutes or more early, we send out an email to them explaining to them why they should not be there, and that they potentially could lose their reservations if they continue to violate our policy. We also resend out the same letter every time we send out an early email notification. As of June 29th, we've identified over 728 trucks arriving between 4:30 and 6 a.m. 15 of those were identified as Diesel Direct, which is our fueling company, which we use to fuel our vessels. And 44 were identified as Centerplate. Centerplate, as we all know, is the ones that do our concessions on our boats. So they're coming down to stock up the boats, stock up their storage facilities and all that. At the end of May, we did discover a timestamp error. The cameras were fast. We were able to identify this by one of our shippers who continuously seemed to be in violation by 2 or 3 minutes. They actually were able to send me screenshots from their dash cameras. So we're able to verify that it was our times that were wrong. So we were able to readjust that. So of the 728 trucks identified, 24 were determined to have arrived early, and with a total of 78 occurrences of early arrival. The average is about 5.21 minutes early that our shippers, if they are arriving early, seem to be doing. We have gone in and adjusted the numbers, so you can see the difference from the time stamp issue from May to June, and that was the 2 spreadsheets that was attached as well to this update. Any questions?
Allison?
Yes,
Is
sir.
there any way that these could be staged at Falmouth, so they all leave at the same time and come down at the same time?
The problem right now, especially this time of year, as you've seen in the parking lot, is there's not much space available. And it seems to be on a somewhat regular basis now, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, we are already directed to Thomas Landers. So it's definitely would be.
How about the other one over in Falmouth, right? Anyway, staging there.
That is something that I believe Terrence can talk to that. There's an agreement with the Gifford Street lot that with the.
Yeah,
I don't wanna say EPA, but it's one of the environmental groups.
Yeah, that was resolved with the Mass DEP.
Thank you.
And the environmental concerns we had when we built, that was all resolved. The Palmer lot out, built the TBL lot.
So
we can only use Gifford Street for laydown facility right now.
So when we do, the ones that are showing up significantly early are not so much the ones showing up for the 5:30 boat. It's the ones that have the 6, 6:30 and 7 that want to show up earlier to try to get on a better boat. If we do have someone showing up astronomically early for the 5:30 boat, chances are it's either a third party shipper or someone that has never really traveled with us before. And we're aware of the policies because they're not one of our frequent shippers, so they weren't ones getting these letters ahead of time. So it's one of those situations. But generally speaking, our shippers are trying to be as cognizant of that on arriving when they should be arriving. It's just, some of them, you know, especially with the 6, 6:30 and 7, they want to go a little earlier, and it's trying to change that habit of them showing up too early.
Yeah. I get it. Allison, can I just ask you a quick thing? I know this is a vineyard thing, I'm not supposed to talk, but do the frequent people, do they, and we had this conversation like 3 or 4 years ago, the same exact thing. Do they have a place to wait? Because, you know, they're traveling from far away, the timing of getting to the boat right when we're telling them to, I mean, this is kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Do
when
they
they're
have a
showing up-
place to pull over somewhere? I haven't been down there in so long, I don't even know where they go,
A
so.
lot of the fuel trucks, they would stop at the gas station next door because they had a Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, there you go.
And they would
Perfect.
stop, now it's gone, now they don't have the Dunkin' Donuts now. But they'll still stop there and go inside and get a coffee or something like that, just to kind of drag their feet a bit before they come down, so. Because we tell them there are technically 2 areas on Woods Hole Road that trucks do have a habit of parking at, though they're not supposed to, and we tell them not to park there, we try to keep them from doing it, but obviously we can't be driving up and down Woods Hole Road.
Well, it
Stopping
sounds
people.
like it's working for the most part. There's
It is.
occasional. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the ones that are showing up for the 5:30 too early, if they are showing up within more than 5 minutes, it's because they've never been here before and they're not aware of the policy.
Yeah.
They are now, but they weren't at the time.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Allison. Any other questions from board council?
So that leads into the next topic, which I just wanted to inform the board that we did get a petition objecting to the 5:30 a.m. vote out of Woods Hole and out of Vineyard Haven. We do have that hearing is scheduled for the 8th or the 9th?
Thursday, whatever that is, the 9th.
Thursday, the 9th. So we will be looking at there, we have, I think it was 152 people signed that petition. So we will be hosting that hearing here later this week.
That'll be Zoom.
That'll be Zoom event. We'll be here in person, but that'll be Zoom event. So, and we are in light of the 5:30, but we are looking at what we can do to reduce the 5:30s. Are there places where we don't need it? Are there times in the year where we don't need it? So we're looking at, like, obviously we didn't have it this winter, the 5:30 off coming out of Vineyard Haven. So those are considerations we're looking at, and hopefully we'll have that ready by the hearing for the all announcement.
One concern that I have, besides the trucks, is I happen to be going off from the 7 o'clock boat 2 or 3 times for different things. And I noticed the number of passengers that come off that 5:30 boat that work on the Vineyard. And I think that's something else we have to take into consideration, besides the trucks, the number of workers that are coming off that flight. I was amazed at how many came off the freight boat.
Yeah, and if that 5:30 is not running, they're all the 6 a.m. and their work day is starting a little bit later.
Well, to clarify the petition, that they're objecting to the trucks on the 5:30 boats. So they're not necessarily complaining about the 5:30 boat itself. They're okay with passengers, they're okay with cars, it's the trucks themselves. So we've already made some accommodation on a 5:30 boat out of the Vineyard, that there are no big trucks, it's all just the box trucks, not the semis. But out of Vineyard Haven, I know they do have a bunch of semis that come off on that 5:30 boat, and that's more the area of concern than the passenger, the cars.
All right, so that petition was received, so thank you for that, Alex. And now, last item of new business is the general manager's review. Janice, welcome. Want to give us a little table setting?
So, I can't believe it's been 6 months.
Yeah, that's the 6 months.
Next week, okay, not quite. So Alex had worked together with some of the board and the board members on the work plan, so I believe all of you have seen that. And then recently, late last week, his action plan or his summary status update essentially was sent out as well. So over the weekend, so there was, I think it was back in May when I sent out the form and in the spreadsheet. So I have heard from a couple of members that they haven't had an opportunity to complete the actual document. So if it's okay to just do a brief summary, and then I'll just ask them to send me the paperwork. So I could then send it to the board.
That's all right. All right, why don't we go ahead and let the council share their perspectives. I'll say that board chair Peter Jeffries was here in the meeting and has been involved in the development of the work plan and the updates as well. So you can hear some of our perspectives now in advance of actually comparing written summaries afterward. So let's start with Mr. Sleep.
Well, I had a chance to read this. I got it on Sunday, and while I was watching the soccer matches, I was reading this. It's a very comprehensive and very complete report. And I like the idea of your accountability in this. And one of the main things when you talk about accountability is that you want to include delegating more responsibility to senior management. And I think that's an excellent idea. Because you've been taking a lot from what I read. And this was a very comprehensive report. I just want to get to one portion here on your compensation. After reading this and thinking about it, I would like at some point to make a motion from the board to the Board of Governors or to the Governance Committee, that beginning on July 1st, that we would increase your pay that equal of a former general manager. I think that's important. I said, because of the work that you're doing, and I think in the past 6 months, it's been amazing, the amount of work that you're doing. Again, it would be reviewed on the 1st of January. And again, I'm not sure of that. I'd have to check with the chairman of the governors, that would that go to the governance committee as far as to make a recommendation to the board as to what the salary would be. That was some recommendation that I would make once we discuss all of this. After reading all of this, quite frankly, I'm giving you a B plus somewhere between an 87 and an 80 and 90. The work that you've done, I think it's been remarkable for coming in at the time that you came in and the problems that you've been having. And I think I've seen you more in the vineyard than I've seen a few other people in the past 6 months. And I know the people in the vineyard appreciate that. And I know the staff at both Bluffs and at Vineyard Haven appreciate it. And with that, I want to go for the comment.
All right, great, thank you. I think my academic career was looking a bit worse than with Professor Solito, I think.
Perfect.
With that, I have a couple of thoughts. Let's go around the forum with the board council. Other comments?
I'll go next if you want.
Okay, Matt, thanks.
I would echo exactly what Joe just said, and I haven't talked to Joe, not one word. I agree with everything he just said. So I'm going to add my own sort of verbal recommendations and evaluation. So when I was on the committee that recommended hiring Alex, and my biggest concern was his ability to not know, for people around him to know way more than him when he got here, and how he was going to deal with that. He is exactly what we needed to come in here to this very complex operation. It's essentially two different boat lines in theory. And he has the right demeanor. He has the skill set to listen and evaluate and talk to individuals that have been here and understand the operation, and the nuances are just endless. The community issues, as Joe brought up, he's been unbelievable with that, because that is obviously the most challenging because of the complexities of that, and in the past few years of just different, problems or whatever. So he's been really, to me, maybe better than I thought. And I might be going, I'm not really going out on a limb, actually. I actually think he is better than what I had hoped for, because it's a tough place. This is not easy. There is no other place like this to come to work. That's one of the reasons why most of the people that have been in these positions have worked their way up through the system. But to come in here out of thin air, I've been through that, and it doesn't work usually, but this time it has. So I would recommend what Joe said as well after we're done with this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Matt. Other thoughts?
This is Greg. I probably don't need to repeat Nat and Joe. I fall in line very similarly. Confusing time to come in with our new reservation system, the tail end of the new boats. There's a lot of balls in the air. I think Alex has managed this very, very well. It's a dynamic that quite frankly is so much going on. I'm one of the newer guys on the Port Council and still learning. And Alex came in, and I had nothing to do with the hire or the review. There was really good qualified people on the search committee, and I congratulate them for selecting Alex, because it's been so far so good. Just relative to Barnstable, I think the community outreach has been excellent initiative on Alex's part. I know that he's been over the islands and all the different areas. I witnessed firsthand here in Barnstable, meetings with the Harbor Masters Department, the town council, the town manager. So 6-month check-in is very impressive. We got a lot of work to do still, but as a Port Council member, I support you, Alex, and your team as well. You got a great team around you, and I think that's really helped your integration as well. So thank you.
Good. Other thoughts? Ron, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Well, sound repetitive, but I want to support what Joe had to say, what Nat had to say, and now what Greg had to say. I did submit my performance appraisal, and I just wanted to read to the board or the Port Council my summary at the end. I would recommend a 90% upgrade, overall grade at this time. There are no 10s. Alex continues to demonstrate his ability to not only understand the complexities of the business and internal organization, but he has a wonderful way of engaging with the general public. I have watched him in both internal and public meetings, and I'm continuously impressed. Internally, he knows how to prioritize and listen to his staff. Publicly, he demonstrates true empathy. Personally, I believe empathy has been missing at the top of the organization for quite some time. And that's my summary. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you for getting the work done. Ahead of some of us. That's great. Eric, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I made comments earlier and stand by them. You've been outstanding. This is an organization I really have watched my whole lifetime, and I'm really proud of the job that you're doing. And I think what John just said, you have empathy, and if we could all pay attention to empathy, and that includes all of us on this council. Empathy is what drives good social norms, and this is what we've been missing. It is so cool to watch, and without any technical babble, it is just a pleasure to watch. And you've got your team organized. Do what you're doing. People can suggest to do other things, but do what's comfortable for you. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet. This has been a crazy time, probably the craziest time in 30 years for me, getting pulled all different countries every other week. And, just watching you from afar is just a nice experience, and seeing that the steamship is getting along internally, everybody is working together. It's a pleasure. So thank you. And thank you for taking a risk on us.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Eric. So I guess I'll go around unless you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're all supposed to do this, right? I took a look at Alex's work plan and the statement, and I found it interesting that you're very transparent about everything. A lot of your short-term things you haven't been able to accomplish because you've been focusing on what I consider to be the longer-term things, but really turned out to be the most important things, which are the community relations, the kind of the culture, the approach to culture, the public trust, the transparency. Those have, I think you've really, and those were long-term goals. And obviously there's still a work in progress. In fact, everything on your work plan is a work in progress. But those have had a significant impact. And I think everybody stated that. Your shorter term things, a lot of those are, maybe to some extent fell a little bit by the wayside, and that's totally understandable. Because I think you've picked the most important things to be working on the most, and everybody's espoused that. I do think I'd like to highlight a couple of tactical things that have been important. Your focus on training, on project management. I think your handling of the IG situation has been good. In other words, you inherited that, obviously, and you're going to just sort of muscle your way through that to, I think, a positive outcome. But I also, and everybody knows that I beat the drum of thinking strategically, and I think the governance committee, the capital planning committee, those are two important strategic initiatives, and built inside of those, I think, is a commitment to look seriously at New Bedford. I like the idea of the 2050 blueprint. You're down in Washington, beating the bushes for our federal sources. Those are all positive steps. I also appreciate engaging the way you have with Peter Jeffrey, the way you have with me on activities to sort of bring us inside the tent a little bit so that we can actually get to know some folks a little bit better and be, I think, do our jobs better in the Port Council. So I think those I think are the things that have really resonated with me. But I think we all know there's a lot to do. I had to give a score, and I gave it an 85, the way Joe did, and that's because there's a lot of work to be done. You're only 6 months into it. It's hard to give 100 after only 6 months, but I think the trajectory is really good.
Great, thanks, Rob. Yeah, and I will just summarize. I think, as Nat said, joining any organization from the outside, particularly one as complicated as this, is going to be difficult. The moment in time, which several of the counselors had mentioned, just amplifies that to 11, right? I mean, the recent history, the ongoing reservation system and the complexity of that, you're very quick appreciation that needed more public outreach, which I think you executed extraordinarily well. I'm not sure that was necessarily on yours or anybody's radar screen in early January to get that done over the couple of months. Your self-assessment was very helpful for us in addition to the work plan. I think you covered yourself, but that's probably a good thing as far as trying to strike that balance of not letting the urgent crowd out be important, right? And I think that will shake out once we get past a little bit more than 6 months. I would echo Rob's point about your collaboration with Peter at the board in establishing what I think are going to be very productive committees that will hopefully help you as you figure out those balances and those priorities. I can't even say this meeting because it's happened in prior board council meetings, but the seamlessness with which you've been able to pick up really complicated topics that have come to us and help us figure them out, both the advanced briefings and then helping to sort of fine tune what the next steps need to be, certainly makes our job easier. And I agree with all of my colleagues about where we are and where we're headed. So Janice, I guess we'll put these items in writing for you leading up to the board. But when I do my update to the board in a couple of weeks, and Peter will probably afterward, I can share and summarize a lot of the comments that were made here today at the board. So
With that, I move my motion forward.
all right, so Joe Salito has moved his motion. This is the recommendation on the compensation for the board. Should they do it, it would be retroactive from July 1. That's your
July 1 and make that recommendation to the board.
So moved. Or
Yeah.
Second.
John, that's seconded. All in favor of making that recommendation for the board, John?
Cahill, yes.
Eric?
Aye.
Greg?
Yes.
Matt?
Aye.
Rob?
I guess I thought we would have some discussion before we went to the vote.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Would that
Is
be
there any
normal?
discussion on the vote?
There really should be, right? Process,
Yeah, I guess
something of this weight, it should have a conversation. I know everybody's trying to I'm missing a board meeting in Vietnam.
I think
So-
that it was an oversight on my part, Eric. It was not expediency. Ultimately, the compensation decision will be made by the board. So I apologize for skipping over the discussion. Is there any discussion on Joe's motion? Rob?
Yeah, I guess I have some trepidation because of having engaged and undertake a contract, and we're very short into it. And I recognize, and probably just on the face of it, independent of all that, could certainly support the proper salary for Alex. But I do feel that it's early days and that we had an understanding and agreement, and that we're only 6 months into it, and it feels a little bit like rushing to something that should be more thoughtful. And you know, I understand the comparison with the salary that Alex is getting and the salary that Bob had. Obviously, Bob had been here for umpteen years, and there's a certain element of seniority to that, and we can all question the deal that Bob has, but that's the deal that he has. So I guess I don't know that I see a direct connection between those two things at this moment. So I just have some trepidation about that.
Okay.
Is that a second for discussion?
What's that?
Is that a second for discussion, Rob?
Well, it's been seconded.
No, that has been seconded, so.
I
we
was
are
kind
in
of
the discussion
joking.
Stage, Eric.
Yeah,
I
I understand what Rob's saying. But I think that the circumstances surrounding the whole process, and it's been a long time to get, as I said it during our meetings we had, you know, hiring the successor. I kept saying the same thing. We never did this before. This is our first time ever doing this. We've never done anything like this. And I was on the last one, and it was really pretty simple compared to this. I think that this is warranted. Joe's suggestion is exactly what I was thinking when I read Alex's self-evaluation and the overall circumstance. Even without reading that, I would have been in favor of this little bump now, and then we reevaluate at another date because of the circumstances of his hiring, what has happened. And if this review was in a year from now, from January, we would be recommending more. Because in my opinion, I think that that would be my prediction that what we'd be doing. So I think that this is a good move because of what has transpired in the last 6 months and getting to that. So I'm in favor of Joe's motion.
Thanks, Nat. Eric, you have a good race?
Sorry. Yes, thanks. You know, what I really wanted to do is hear from Alex. You know, what has your experience been? You know, how are you feeling? Again, I haven't had time to meet with you, and I really apologize for that. But, you know, how are you feeling about what you're doing? What grade would you give yourself, you know, in a verbal exchange? You know, and, you know, yeah, I'm with Nat, and I'm with Joe. I think we give you the bump now. Sorry, Rob. It's one of the first times I've disagreed with you, but you know, we've got a good guy, a great guy. Alex, we don't want you to get a raise and take off, you know, and yet we don't want you to take off. You're doing a great job. But what is your feedback?
Well, in addition to the 5 coach self-evaluation that you provided.
I gotta work my heart out.
In 30 seconds or less.
No, 30 seconds or not, I'm having a great time. I'm thoroughly enjoying the job. It's exactly what I was hoping it would be. It's challenging, it's rewarding, it's thrilling. As you guys said, I have a great team. I couldn't do it without the team. I would be, you know, this is certainly not a one-man job. Mark has been an incredible asset for me, Mark and Mark both. Mark Anderson's been a great partner. Mark Rozum's been a great partner. Janice is awesome. She's been leading the charge on employee appreciation events with Joe. I can't say enough about the team. So I think I've been doing the best that I can. I think I've done a really good job. As I've said, I've gone a little bit off script from the work plan, but I did lean into community engagement, employee engagement. I think that's paying dividends. I want to continue that. I want to get back to the work plan and kind of revitalize it, kind of recenter that. That was done within the first month I was here. So I don't think it's necessarily fully accurate of where it should be. I think it needs to be tweaked and worked on and improved upon. Steamship 2050 is a super important thing that we need to plan. We need to get on. I should have been further along on that, to be honest. But we need to move forward. We need to make great strides on that. That's something we really heard a lot when we were down in DC that we really need to have a good plan where we're going. I had the chance to meet the governor on the boat a couple weeks ago. She happened to be riding, and the captain brought up to the bridge and was nice enough to introduce me. And her question to me is, what do you need from us? And I said, let me get back to you on that. I mean, I could easily just put my hand out and said, we need money, but we need to have a good formalized plan saying, here's what we need. This is what we need to make New Bedford work. This is what we need to improve the Nantucket terminal, expand that into a real regional transit center. There's a lot of work to be done. So I think so far I've had a great time. I'm really enjoying it. I have a 3-year contract. I'm not planning on going anywhere. I'm really having a great time enjoying with the people I'm working with. But again, we do have a lot of work to do. And now that I've got kind of my feet wet, I'm still kind of the cement is still curing under my feet, so it's not fully stable. But we're getting there. We're ready to roll up our sleeves and kind of take it to the next level.
That's great to hear, and thank you for mentioning New Bedford. I'm going to show you going to bring you a whole folder on history of New Bedford and why the steamship should be operating out of there, especially for cargo. And just thrilled that you guys are talking about that. So listen, thanks so much, and I'm with Joe. Yeah.
Excellent. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, I'm going to recall the roll based in case there are any changes on vote. So Joe, you've made the motion. John, I think you had seconded it.
Yes.
All right, so all in favor of Joe's motion, John?
Cahill, yes.
Eric?
Aye.
Greg?
Yes.
Matt?
Aye.
Rob?
No.
Joe?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Excellent. So we will all memorialize our thoughts in prose and get them to Janice in advance of the board meeting on the 21st. Yes.
And I just have one more thing on the business issue.
Sure.
Yesterday the vote was canceled from Oak Bluffs. I had a chance to get down there. While I was there, I don't know how many people did not know that the vote was canceled. Is there any way we can get a chalkboard to write up there, vote canceled? Is there any way we can notify the VTA that the vote is canceled? Because quite a few people got off the bus left, they were now stranded in Oak Bluffs at, I'm trying to think of what vote it was, whether it was the 1:15, I think it was the 1:15. And there was no way for them to get to Vineyard Haven unless they got a taxi.
Yeah.
Because the bus had dropped them off. So if there's any way, when we do cancel that, to notify them, just put a chalkboard up. They had it years ago. Boat canceled. Boat's 15 minutes late. You know what? Have somebody go up and write it on there.
Allison's nodding. We can do
I
that.
know, something like that. You know, well, otherwise,
I mean, something old school, simple as that. Yeah.
but again, thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Joe. Any other last comments, thoughts on the new business by the council before we go to public comment? Hearing none? Open up.
Is there anyone with public comment? Can you hit the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard? I'm gonna biff this first name. I apologize. Julio?
Hi, thank you so much. You got the name right. It's a hard one. So thank you guys so much. A little bit of quick context. I've been coming to the Vineyard for over 40 years, been a resident for 20. Very embedded in the community here. And I'd just like to underscore what so many said, Alex. I think the role that you've stepped into was tremendously challenging, and the outreach to the community is something that I think many people really, really appreciate. And we all know that it's, well, I hope most consumers know what a complex task you've got at hand. All that being said, I think a couple of comments, I did sit through the entire meeting, and I know right at the very beginning, we talked about possible reasons that travel is down. And I think economy aside, I think everything, I've spent many years in the business community, still work, and am somewhat retired, but am quite engaged in my career still. And it all goes back to the consumer experience, right? And the consumer experience still needs dramatic improvement. And I know we've got a reservation system that will hopefully be coming online to discuss how we got to this plus and the missteps I have been taken along that I don't think really make much sense. But as a consumer, it is still very difficult to secure reservations. And so I don't think we're seeing a decline because people don't have the money. I think there's plenty of people that want to come, and we are turning them off because of the inability to easily get vehicle reservations. You are consistently seeing sold out vehicles during the week. And I'm smart enough to know how to game that system and wait until the very last minute. And then suddenly a ton of inventory appears. But most people don't. And so I think we have got to get that reservation system fixed. We've got to be able to show real time inventory. And we have to think about how that is going to roll out, because I know there is a tremendous amount riding on that new system. And I'll just give you I was off island on the weekend of June 20th for a quick memorial service, and I was due to return. I had a reservation for Sunday evening, and I left my event on Saturday, realized I could get back before the end of the day, looked at Saturday real time, sold out, sold out, sold out. And I said, I'm just going to keep going. And so here I am driving, trying to open up my phone to get at the reservation system, because you can't wait online because you'll on the phone because you'll just wait and wait and wait. And I'm trying to use a reservation system that is displaying on my phone, not mobilely optimized. You know all of this, right? But I'm going you through this because of the consumer experience, right? And here's someone who knows how to game it. And as I'm driving over those 2 hours, every time I go on and refresh, nothing populates. And then magically, 3 boats open up, the last 3 of the evening. So that's just an example. I know you're working to fix all of this. I'm not complaining about it. I'm bringing this up because I think as I sit back and listen to the board meeting, this is very insular. You guys are all talking about issues amongst yourselves. And really, you got to think about the consumer experience. And that is a consumer experience that is unlike any other, right? Like, I don't know a modern organization that still is not showing a reservation system in a mobile optimized manner, right? And that's just one very small instrument. So that's just my own personal comment. I think the other source of frustration among consumers, and I think you're doing a great job of trying to be transparent, but is, how the workforce is being deployed. It's very common to pull in to the first booth and you have 2 people sitting there, one at the register, one asking you when your reservation is. Then you get your reservation and you're directed to the next booth where there's another 2 people sitting, one at the computer, one at the booth. Do you really need 4 people to ascertain your reservation? Right? And then you're put in line. So, those are just a couple of things that I noticed. There's many, many others, but I want to give others an opportunity to weigh in. And I think we have a long way to go. I am part of the beta. I appreciate that. I'm very engaged, and I appreciate the way you're reaching out to the community. And my hope is that we'll see improvement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Mary?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I also would add that to Alex that I appreciate the outreach. I'm a Woods Hole person, and so I'm not the consumer going back and forth on a regular basis. But what I would like to ask is, and thank you for considering slip 1 for freight. I think that's critical. I hope that you make that happen. The other thing I wanted to ask is, I know it wasn't a topic tonight, but the dark sky lighting, it has come up in other meetings. And I think that is something important for all of our ports, not just the Woods Hole port, but the Woods Hole port, because it's getting the new lighting that, we try to implement dark sky standards across all locations. And then the last question actually that I had is, the petition could have only been received very recently, and so I appreciate that it's going to be a Zoom call on the 9th. What time? So we can be sure that we let people know that you're going to be dealing with the 5:30 vote petition on the 9th of July. We need to know
It's
it.
at 2 p.m., Mary, and there was an advertisement in the Enterprise last Friday.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? It didn't come through.
It's at 2 p.m. on Thursday, and there was an advertisement in the Enterprise, and it is posted on the website, or if not, it will be at Redaction's meeting.
But I can send you that advertisement too, Mary.
Okay,
And
thank
Nat,
you.
You're on the call too, so I can send it out to whoever I have the email addresses for here in town.
Okay,
And Mary,
thank
the lighting is gonna be addressed in phase 3 as part of the phase 3 project in Woodsville.
Yep. And that is great. And then the last comment, Alex, you put up the new site plan and
Yes.
the curb cuts. I'm one of the people, and I still object to the curb cut at Luscombe Avenue and Railroad as you're coming off slip 3. When I looked at that, when you posted it today, what I realized is that brings that if Falmouth grants a curb cut, it brings it even closer to the park, not, the park that will be, that doesn't exist. And so I would ask that you make sure you take another look at that, because that traffic coming off that boat will be going right by the park. And one of the ideas for the park is a nice place for people to wait, etc. And so they're going to be crossing right against that. And so, again, as I say, I'm very transparent. I don't agree with the curb cut there, but I think I would be sure to take another look at that because it was so close to the park, at least according to the drawing you had. Thank you.
Yeah, that drawing is not the final version. We've had more requests from DPW to adjust exactly how that curb cut would look and how crosswalks would look and whatnot. So we're still working. We haven't finalized those drawings yet. We have to hopefully we'll have them this week, but then we'll be going back to DPW. So yeah, we're aware of that, and DPW is partnering with us, and there's a lot of steps to go after DPW. So have to take it to the traffic advisory board, to the bike coalition. We want to get buy-in and comments from everybody. So we'll be working closely with Peter McConaughey on that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mary.
and thank you, because that's part of the transparency that your board's recognizing that you're doing, and so it's appreciated. Thank you.
Beth O'Connor.
Hi, everybody. I have 3 questions. The first one is, when I saw the slide for the 2026-2031 project list, I didn't see anything about New Bedford feasibility on there, and it seems like that should be on somebody's radar as an offload of
Oh, it's
freight.
very much on everybody's radar, yes.
Right. So, but it doesn't look like it's on the project list, and I think it needs to be. Right, but
Yeah,
as grant funds could be focused on New Bedford, correct?
if we can find a grant project to pay for it, yes, 100%.
Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the
Or when.
discretionary fund category, which is the 3rd category on that slide I was looking at, and it was discretionary funds, and I saw Fairhaven feasibility, and I am wondering why New Bedford I'm questioning why New Bedford feasibility could not be added to that.
Yeah, we'll look at that if there's
Okay.
grant opportunities coming up, but the Fairhaven wasn't feasibility, it was for a transfer bridge. And the Nantucket is, the feasibility was for the Nantucket terminal next phase.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, and it's my understanding New Bedford could use a transfer bridge too. But anyway, all right, the second question I have is on the topic, and I'm just going to say flat out, I know you guys, it's very hard as a member of the public to listen to everyone pat themselves on the back for the Woods Hole Terminal project. I'm just going to say that. Okay, so that's our opinion that's shared by many people on this island. And what's very hard to hear is that we cannot find $100,000 for the R99 funding for this year when we seem to be, we just went over another million. I don't know if anybody caught it. Nobody questioned it. Last week's press said 37 million. This week's slide said 38 million on the Woods Hole Terminal. So I'm just questioning why we can't find, not a joke, but we don't need custom granite. Like, can we sell it and get $100,000? I'm just saying, we seem to be looking in, congratulating ourselves on this, this, what some people call a Taj Mahal. In my mind, it parallels a lot what's going on in DC. But anyway, we seem to be congratulating ourselves on that and not being able to find $100,000 for alternative fuel. And if anybody watches that Island Home pull in, I don't know if you know the numbers, but that would be 8% of the Island Home spend on fuel and 1% of the overall budget of fuel. Like, we can't find $100,000 at the same meeting where we're congratulating ourselves on going another million on this spend. The optics of it just baffle me. But the third thing I want to say before we, and that was a comment, not a question, is I think as a member of the public and speaking for myself, I think Alex has done a phenomenal job of addressing and making a bridge where there wasn't a bridge with members of the public. And I think I think there's a lot of people that are very grateful for that open door. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Amy Cody?
Hi, Amy Cody Chilmark. First, Alex, congratulations on a successful performance review from the Port Council. I agree with what everyone said. Two quick questions. One is with the OTT application. Thank you to the Port Council for voting to pass it on to the board. But it sounded like the fee structure was not necessarily decided yet between the Steamship and OTT. So, Alex, can you just give us a timeline of when that fee structure will be agreed upon and decided? Will it be before the board meeting, so you're presenting the application with the fee structure, or will it be debated at the board meeting?
The next board meeting in a couple weeks.
I'm sorry, so you'll have it by the next board meeting?
That's the goal, yes.
Okay. My second question is about, you had talked about hiring a training/project manager.
Training and project. There's two positions.
Okay, so the training manager who would be in charge of doing the training for the new reservation system. Can you just give us an update on the timeline of that person so that it's not done by in-house people who already have full-time jobs?
There's two positions, there's two different things. We're looking at a training person for the Steamship Authority because we recognize that we need ongoing customer service training, we need onboarding training, we need all kinds of training in-house. The training for the reservation system, that's what Mark touched on, we're actually gonna get training that way done through a state contract. So we realize that our person, we need to go through the process of hiring somebody, vetting somebody, getting the job posting out there and getting it all budgeted. And yes, we have to make sure we have a budget to do it. And that's gonna take a longer, it's obviously there's gonna be an onboarding process that's gonna take a while for that person. So we're not gonna throw them right into the middle of the reservation system the day they start. We're actually looking at a vendor through their state contract that's a training specific company to come in and help us with the training for the reservation system.
Okay, got it. So can you give us a timeline of that state contract and when the RFP will go out? And will Gibbs be, will they be considered as part of the RFP?
The markets.
We'll come back to you on that. Not ready to discuss that at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll bring that up to the IT steering committee.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go into depth on that then, so.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll go to Nat since he hasn't spoken yet.
Nat Trumbull. I've been looking on the website. I don't see the link. Actually, I don't see the announcement for Thursday's public hearing.
Nat, I'm just back from vacation, so I'll get it up this morning. So apologies for that, but it is legally been advertised in the papers of record. So the notice is out there, and I'll get it on the website as soon as public comment wraps up.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think we're done. No. Almost. Julia, one more time.
Hi, one more time, just real quick. I would just like to underscore what Elizabeth mentioned earlier about the terminal. I do think that, again, from a customer perspective, to walk into a $38 million terminal and find a single vending machine, it is only one of the many things that feels so incredibly wrong about the entire project. And the fact that it's completely blocking your view when you are queuing up to get in. I mean, these are all things that but I do think it's increasingly relevant to not get caught in your bubble and seeing how wonderful this facility is when it has many, many I think, shortcomings, and clearly baffles my mind as someone who ran a brand called Architectural Digest for over a decade, how that could have been sort of the solution to, making the entrance to the gateway to the islands, that be your first impression. So my hope is that you can make it work, and when the master plan is all completed, that there's some flow. But I know I'm not the only one that shares that opinion, and I just wanted to reiterate what Elizabeth had said. Thank you so much for your time.
You.
We're done.
I think we're done. All right, with that, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the July 7th court council meeting. So move. Joe, for a second.
Second.
Nat?
Yep.
So all in favor, let's see who's left. John?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nat?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Aye as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.